Yeah, this seems right. Hello. Hello, everyone.
Woo!
Welcome to another Bad Batch stream. Today we're going to be talking about the Bad Batch Season 2, episodes 3 through 5. Um, Three very different sounding episodes, in my opinion. And yeah, it should be interesting to talk about. I'm Xanthe. You can call me Xanthe. Whatever. Are we going to introduce ourselves?
I'm
I mean, we've
Justin.
never done that. I just
Yeah, we've
I guess
kind
that's true.
of getting
Xanthe, what I love about Xanthe in the way that they run these shows is sometimes they'll just on the fly introduce new formats, like that. All right, let's introduce ourselves. We're like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing it. Love it. This is part of the show where we do the thing that we've never done before. So, I'm James. I was just saying I'm usually in my studio, but I'm out here on my laptop. So I just got like a Mac Studio, one of those
Oh
one of
wow.
those desktop things. However, I want to warn anybody that's interested in either upgrading their Macs to Ventura or getting an M1, one of these M1 chip Macs, is that there's like so much software that is not compatible yet with the new OSs. And so my Logitech, what do you call it, webcam, like as far as I can understand right now, literally will not work with Mac Ventura. Like it just won't work. They don't even you can't even download the software. So I was getting set up in my studio today, and I'm like, oh, I guess I just can't. And I don't have another webcam because it's a Mac Studio. It doesn't have like an actual screen with a camera on it. It's just a box, right? So I'm like, oh, I guess I'm using my laptop today. And also, like, there's all this audio driver stuff and all these plugins on Logic and stuff that are just like, are just a nightmare. So I've been in kind of like, I've been in like retrograde incompatibility like hell for like the last week. I mean, the computer itself seems like that once everything catches up to it, it's going to be awesome. But like at the moment, it's like, it's kind of a nightmare. So,
It's okay, James.
yeah, that's all right. I don't know if anybody else has got in like the new operating system or knows anybody that's got these new computers, but they're all
We've got
kind
a
of,
few.
I
We've
have
got a
a
few
new
at
one of them,
school. I don't
Yeah.
have the new one. I'm still on a wonderful late 2013 laptop and 2015 thing, and Catalina, and everything is
Yeah.
happy.
And it works,
working.
right?
And I'm not gonna do it until it
Yeah.
all happens.
Like Logic has legitimately crashed a number of times over the last week on me in the middle of a session doing just random stuff. Like I was just EQing the vocal track yesterday and it just crashed in the middle of EQing. And I don't know what caused that. So it's super unstable at the moment. So anybody that's like in audio watching these streams or anything and thinking about upgrading might want to wait a little bit until it all like susses itself out, because it's been kind of gross.
It's because you're not doing Dolby 64.7 sound. That's what they're designed for.
That's right. That's true. Yeah.
So,
You've got too
Bad
few
Batch.
things that you're doing.
Right. Right. So yeah. Anyway, thought I'd give a little PSA on the stream today.
So Bad Batch season 3 was the solitary clone, and that was, just to recap, that was like a crosshair centered episode.
Are we done introducing each other? Hold on. I gotta.
Were we,
Christina
We
never
started
said-
and then we didn't.
was that all part of James's introduction?
That was it. We
Yes,
don't.
that
no
was
one
my
else.
little blurb. It's Christina's turn now.
I'll go quick. I'm Christina, and I use Mac OS Mojave, which is really old because that is where my software update compatibility ends. And yeah, I've got a 2015 Mac, so
Like it's like our horoscopes.
That's what it
This
is.
is like our astrology sign right here. I'm on.
yeah,
I'm
that's
Justin.
it. That's everything you need to know about me, I think.
Love it. Love it.
I'm Justin. Everything's running on a potato right now. Raspberry Pi. It's wonderful.
Oh,
All
Ooh.
two bytes of processing per hour. It's wonderful.
oh wow. Cool. Okay.
Okay, so now
that was an introduction. Bad Batch season 2, episodes 3 through 5. Okay. I thought of like, should we do like a polls?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, because we had 3 episodes. There's a lot to.
Yeah,
A lot to unpack.
because then maybe we could. Well, we haven't talked about the episodes amongst ourselves, so maybe we. Okay, so why don't we just? Should we say our favorite one, or should we say like, what are some good poll questions?
That's it. We can start there.
Okay.
Yeah, favorite's a good one. Very good
Okay.
question.
Favorite overall episode.
Yeah.
Should we all just like put up our finger number?
Yeah. So it would be
Okay.
3, 4, or 5. Okay. Okay. Favorite episode. On the count
Thanks
of
for reminding us on
You're welcome. Anytime. Okay.
Cool.
on the finger configuration.
Okay.
of
Favorite
those numbers.
episode. 3, 2, 1. Oh. So 3 of us 5 and Justin 3.
I'll give a half.
one.
Like it's like all mostly 3, and then like the second half of 5.
Okay.
I really liked.
I thought of
Interesting.
another good polling question too,
Okay, what?
which is which episode had your favorite sound?
Mm.
Which could
Oh,
be
that's a good
different
question.
from your favorite episode.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's okay.
Oh.
It's still a hard tie between the two.
James says episode 3. Matthew says the solitary clone is my favorite of the last 3. And the
Well, to
solitary
be
clone
fair,
is
in
episode
review for today, I only managed to watch episode 3, so it's fresh in my memory.
3. Gotcha.
But there's a cue. It's actually a favorite sound. Maybe, Christina, maybe it's not the answer question, but it's a favorite cue. And it's that synthy Blade Runner cue at the end of the episode where I think it's what's his name? Rampart?
Rampart.
Rampart is talking about I think he's talking about Cody, right? And it's that really spacey. I love that aesthetic, that really synthy, spacey kind of creepy aesthetic, you know?
Well, I guess that's not
Great
really
moment.
technically the sound. No, just kidding.
That's why I said,
Okay,
yeah, I said, that's
a
why I
good
said
sign.
it's not really a sound, it's a music cue. But I think, yeah, probably the blast of that giant Megazord is probably pretty cool, right?
Yeah, in the building.
Oh,
of-
right, in
of
episode
whatever. it was.
5?
You know what
It's
was
hard
a
to
good
beat
sound
that.
What?
in episode 3? Which again, I think I took the most notes on that one because I loved it so much. The crosshair sniper shot into the clone tank, where you get the build of this. It was like a combination of all. You get the build of the score, and then it's just silent, and you hear the shot and like a tube, like a zoop kind of a
Ooh,
thing,
yeah.
and then the explosion. It sounded like they did like the classic, like I was looking for like a cardboard tube to work for today, but I couldn't find one. But like a whoop, kind of a
Yeah.
hollow sound, and then the classic explosion.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really cool.
I totally know what you mean with that. My favorite. Well, Christina, I'll let you go. What was your favorite sound?
I did love the giant mech when it mecha the giant item, the heart of the mountain item, the mountain. Yeah, I loved it when it woke up and started blowing things up. That was quite nice. It sounded amazing. It's kind of hard to beat that. It had maybe we'll go more into it later, so I'll just for now say that was my fave.
Yeah. My favorite. I don't know. There were so many good sounds. Like I thought the 5th episode sounded really. It just sounded really good. But there's this one sound that just like, on a primal level, it just makes me. It does things to my brain that are just like. I don't know. I had to stop watching the episode 7 minutes in my first watch because I was very overwhelmed by this sound, and I was like very overstimulated. Like I needed to just like do some laps or something because I just was like it was building up so much something inside of me, and it was that compass in the 5th episode. Just the like it was just like so squirrely, and I was just like, oh my god, I was so tingly. I was just It was ridiculous.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Can we all maybe share like
It
how do
is.
we all usually watch these episodes in terms of
That was
devices?
gonna be that was gonna totally be another question.
Because I feel like I might feel that way if I watched it the way you watched it, Xanthe. So maybe if we could.
Well,
How
I
does
just watch it
everyone?
on my
Yeah, go ahead.
TV, and it's not actually the sound is okay, but it's not very. Like I was actually surprised that sound impacted me so much because I was like, oh, I'm not even using headphones, or I'm not even using like I don't
It's
have
just coming out of your
sound or
TV
anything.
speakers.
Yeah, and so
Interesting.
usually, but it does make sense that probably a higher pitched sound would maybe I don't know, just something about it still stuck out, where usually things kind of can sound muddy coming out of
Yeah.
and I know that I miss a lot of detail not having surround sound because there were some things in particular that were mixed specifically for surround sound to be like behind you and whatever. But yeah, I don't have a fancy setup.
Interesting. That's so interesting that you had that experience and it was just coming out of your TV speakers. Because
Yeah.
I would have just assumed by hearing you say that you were overwhelmed by the sound design that you just like it had it right there in your ears. But
Yeah, no, I was like
um,
eating dinner. I had like my computer in front of me. I was like-
wow.
yeah, but I was
Interesting.
just like, it was like someone put like jolted me with like something. It was like very
Cool.
pleasing and overwhelming. Like I
Interesting.
maxed out really quickly on it.
I just listened to that little clip when after you mentioned it, and it is so like when I hear it, it does the ASMR thing where it causes the front of my face to tingle,
Hmm.
and I like my jaw and the front of my face are like along with the little sounds, and that wasn't a great
Yeah,
creation, but
at 5:39 of that episode is like where it really got to
Five.
like a climax of like affecting me.
5:39 of that
yes,
episode, huh?
Ziggy.
Yeah, of the fifth episode.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that sound.
It's a little nail on
It's
chalkboardy.
sweet.
Yeah.
Right.
See, I think we talked about a little bit on this show that I can't do like squeaky markers.
Mhm.
If you start writing with a Sharpie, it's like I can't do that sound. I was reading about this the other day. I think there's like a name for this when there's like sounds that just cause like completely.
Misphonia?
That's what it is. Yep, misphonia. Yeah, and that's really when I read that description. It sounds like what I experience when I hear those sounds. Like it like affects me and lingers in my head for like 5 minutes afterwards.
That's how
and
nails on a
so-
chalkboard are for me. But to me, this was a
Yeah.
very different sound from nails on a chalkboard. But
Gotcha. But yeah, I just listened to it myself, and yeah, it is like affecting me a little bit like that. It's interesting.
I think I'm used to sounds like that. Just
Yeah.
with the nature of like high pitched synths and things like that, it reminded me a lot of like radio phasing, switching between frequencies. I tried to like kind of come close to it, and it was hard. I don't know if any of that's coming in, but
It is
It
coming
totally
through.
is,
yeah.
and it sounds a lot like it, Justin.
it was
Although-
weird. It was
well,
it was
Justin's
hard
has
to.
more
It was,
pitch.
yeah, I have mine
Yeah,
has
it
way
makes my
more
jaw and
pitch.
face
Theirs
go
it
up.
goes up and down. Yeah, it's got all these like phasey things, but that sound was cool. Really complicated, but simple. You know,
Yeah, and it pans
this-
a lot.
it
lot of
pans.
go-
It does all these things. What's the word again, Xanthe, that we were just talking about?
Misphonia?
Misophonia.
Misphonia. For me, it's fingernails on a chalkboard doesn't bug me for some reason. It's the sound and feeling of those like old '90s hologram poster things that like
Those make a sound.
you'd get them on like notebooks and stuff, and you could like move it and the picture changes, kind of a thing. You know what I'm talking about? Do you even remember these things?
Does
Wait,
it
You
make
scratch
a
it and it's like
sound, though?
Wait,
right. You scratch it.
you mean like a
and it just
lenticular
make-
postcard?
Sure.
It's kind of like no.
Yeah, it's got
It's like
ah.
it's like ribbed. Oh, I love that. I would just like buy those
No, 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 no.
postcards.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some.
I
in
do not
postcard
know what
form.
you're talking about. Can you say?
Oh my
what-
gosh, I have
say
one.
this again.
Oh,
Describe this again. What?
It's flat. You get them. They used to put them on like Lisa Frank notebooks and anything else. I remember having a Star Wars one. You get them on
There's
Pogs
stickers?
sometimes. No, it's like this plastic, and it's ridged or ribbed in some way that they'd have a picture underneath, and if you move it, depending on the angle you were looking at it, the picture would move or it'd become a different picture. Um, as-
Yes.
those things,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
sound and the feeling of those, like I didn't
I
even
r-
have to touch those, and someone else could do it, and even
That's so
thinking about it
funny
right
because
now.
I really like how those feel.
Mm-mm,
I
mm-mm,
would scratch
mm-mm,
those like
mm-mm,
voluntarily. Yeah.
mm-mm,
Wow, me and
mm-mm.
Justin have like opposites. Like you're
I
sitting
hate
there like
those.
scratching chalkboards and being like, yeah.
Is it
Do you
that
mean
thing?
this? Okay, Justin, close your ears, but well, then you won't be able to confirm whether it's this or not.
No. No.
Oh, it happened to
Oh my
me.
God, Justin just like.
I like all of the most obnoxious sounds in the world. My favorite instruments are the most like universally obnoxious instruments to like people, and that I just can't. No, I don't even. You're scaring
Oh
me.
man.
But what
Oh
about
my
how it
gosh.
feels? It feels so good.
I can't.
Yeah, right. I agree with you, Xanthe. Think like I really like that sound and that feeling.
Yeah.
So-
Oh my gosh. I just want to
I've
pet
actually
it,
been
and I am
shopping for
petting it.
those online.
See? Okay, interesting.
Now we know what to get Justin for.
No,
Oh, I
no,
still feel
no.
it. I still feel it.
Oh, I'm
Just
sorry.
kidding.
It's okay. It's okay. I brought it up.
Oh,
But that's that's my Bix sound. Like you put that on the headphones and I will start screaming like Bix on Andor. I'll tell you anything. What do you want to know?
Oh my gosh.
That's so funny.
That's true.
Well, let
I
me
agree with Matthew Fab.
sing
Riot
the,
Racing
Bad
had some
thought.
amazing
Racing had some
sounds.
Yep.
but the favorite was also the Giant Mac.
Got that nice Phantom Menace feeling, you know.
Speeder bikes
There was
and all
also
those
some.
things.
Well, wait,
There
wait,
was
wait.
some
Before
tech
we,
music in there too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'll get to that.
Before
Yeah.
we move on, I do want to. David W. Collins to tell me what he did for that Compass sound. So let me just.
Oh, what happened?
He made it with
Oh,
our 2600 style synth.
oh, a BARP. I love those. I've always wanted one. It's a reissue of a very, very, very famous synthesizer, the ARP 2600,
The R2D2.
which that's the R2D2. That's so many other things. The synthesizer before that, the 2500, was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If anyone is
Right.
a fan of that movie, um,
Is that the one that they play on screen?
They play on screen, and the guy playing it was the guy who installed it for the set, and he
Okay.
was the only one who knew how to work it. So they're like, "You
That's
want to be
funny.
in the movie?" I was like,
That's
sure.
funny. Have we talked about how silly that scene is on the screen?
Oh, I
Which
love
scene?
that. That scene is so funny
Close
and so
Encounters?
great.
Oh wait, no! Don't
Scene?
spoil anything from the movie.
You've
I
never
haven't
seen it?
No.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
One of my
Okay,
favorite
Please
John
go
Williams
watch that so we can
soundtracks.
talk about that
Okay.
movie.
yeah.
There's a very
Whoa.
silly scene music.
Okay.
At least I think so.
Okay.
In terms of how it utilizes music theory.
Okay.
But,
Oh,
Yeah.
You've talked. We've already talked about
Okay.
that actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
Um,
great.
Yeah, but I don't remember what it is. So that's good. That means I'm ready to watch the movie because I
Yeah.
forgot what James said.
Oh my god, you should watch that movie. It's great.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Um,
yeah, so that was that sound. Justin, I thought your favorite sound episode would be the fourth one because of like the pod racing type of stuff.
All this. Well. Here's my thing about that. I loved all this. The bike. The riot racing was cool. The sounds were very speeder bikey, and I was like, yeah, I love these sounds. And then I think for me it was the disappointment of like when they were like entering the arena. I was like, no, are we gonna do it? Are we finally? And then it was riot racing. I was like, bring
Instead of
back
pod racing?
pod racing, you cowards! Do it.
Oh.
Bring back pod racing. So I was very sad
hear
at
ya.
that moment. So I was like, it was a good episode. It was fun.
yeah, it was good.
It was fun.
Oh, that's interesting.
Um,
What were everyone's thoughts on that? We're kind of jumping all over the place, but before we dive into like actual
are, yeah.
examples, I guess, what were your thoughts on the riot racing? Did you
does
also
that mean?
want pod racing, or were you not bothered by that? I mean, it's close enough to pod racing.
I have to say that like my general opinion is I didn't consider that I wanted pod racing, but I think that in retrospect, if they'd give it, I'm getting a little bit of like we've talked about this on the last time we talked about it. Is I need to like get away from Andor land and be in Bad Batch land, and I'm putting them against each other too much, and it's not helping my enjoyment. Because when I see characters that come up like Cody, I'm like, do we have to bring in Cody just because it's Cody? Like, you know what I mean? But you know, I just need to accept that that's like it's actually a natural bit of storytelling, and that Cody means a lot to like the Bad Batch and the clones, so it makes sense. But I'm like so used to Andor not giving me any like returning characters other than like Saw Gerrera, and so I think if pod racing had made an appearance here, I might have been like, all right, I might have rolled my eyes. But again, I need to just like chill out and just watch the Bad Batch and not think about Andor. But I like the riot racing. I also like how it was like how like it was like droid versus tech kind of idea, you know. What's that? Isn't there like a classic movie where there's like a guy going to oh no, it's like John Henry. He was like the John Henry. It's like that's the story of John Henry where he's like going against the automated. Was he like a miner? He's like digging into a mountain, right?
It.
Oh
what
no, it's like
is John Henry from?
Oh, it's not like a movie. It's like a tall tale from the American West, right? So it's like
really.
Yeah, it's like his whole thing is that he's like it's during the age of industrialization, but he's like I can outdig or outwork any machine, right? And so we kind of had a little bit of like a Star Wars version of that.
Is he the giant with an axe?
No, that's Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan.
But yeah, that's within the same genre, of American folktales and tall stories. Because this was like it's like an updated Star Wars John Henry, where it's like tech is facing off against the machines and shows the ingenuity of the human spirit over the machine in some ways.
Well, it's also very like anything having to do with humans playing chess, or I mean, I think human versus like machine is a very on topic subject, I guess.
Oh, for sure.
Things, so.
Yep. Yeah. So I thought that was cool. And tech is kind of like the, he's like the what's the word? He's the, in some ways gets dehumanized because of his abilities. So I liked that that episode actually humanized tech quite a lot. You know, so.
It did. I was totally a fan of the riot racing as opposed to pod racing, and from in a way from a sonic perspective. So with pod racing, there's the two incredibly loud engines on either side that are like really powerful, and so the sound of pod racing doesn't have so much nuance. Whereas in the riot racing, it's the one engine and then all of the little weapon fire sounds and all of the different. I feel like there was more opportunity for a variety of kind of bubbly little tech sounds, shall we say?
Yeah, I would disagree a little bit, just because episode 1 is like so imprinted in my brain from the amount of times I watched it on VHS. I'm a lot of those pod racers sounded different, which was one of my favorite things about them, because everybody had their own version and their own thing, and one went do 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 do, one went wee. One went, I always thought that was interesting. But I like
the one that goes do 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 do. That's like my favorite.
That's the good one. Kind of like chugs along. No, but I totally get what you're saying though, Xanthe. Yeah, absolutely. The addition of weapons kind of made it Death Race-y for me.
Right. It's like Mario Kart.
Movie. Yeah, it had this little Mario Kart
Very
player
Mario
with it.
Kart.
Don't take the death trap, secret route, kind of a thing, and that was fun. I did enjoy though seeing. What I found interesting about it is that it was this like tech versus the droids thing, but it really wasn't. It was really just tech versus Teo, and he could do better than Teo, because when they were introducing all the things, I liked the 3 or 4 protocol droids that were also racing. Anyone notice like the C-3PO style, and then one of them had like the head of a battle droid with the body. Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool.
This was a very cross-generational Star Wars inclusion like episode, because we have the what was the main what's the species of the main adversary in that episode? He's like from the sequels, right? He's from The Force Awakens, or not his character, but his species is. And then we have like prequel aliens, and we also have OT aliens. Like it's just like a very very inclusive Star Wars representation in this episode for sure. Like mismatches of stuff, which I really like that we're getting in this show.
Mhm.
So he was a Dowotin.
Doten, okay.
Let's see.
Dawooten.
Where was he in the sequels?
He was. That's where he's from. He's from. That's where that species first made appearances in The Force Awakens in Maz's castle.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mm.
I see. Background.
Mhm.
Okay. And he is, it seems like he's in the High Republic. So he is,
I think there might be a Jedi. Of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. He was with Bazine Natal.
He's like, yeah, he's like standing, like
Yeah.
laying down on
I
something.
remember now.
Right?
Yeah, he was really big.
Very big.
I was, I don't know, I don't really have any, I didn't really linger too much on, it was the only episode I didn't take notes on, was that episode. I think I just was experiencing it and then, like, not as into it. Just
Yeah.
the way that it just what happened, I was just like, why?
I'm not really a racing person either, so I
Mhm,
like some people get really excited about race scenes or car chase scenes. I usually tune out when I see them.
But I think just the like, I don't know, just the fact that the episode was just, I don't know, it again start and end in the same place, all about just like betting. I don't know, just like, oh, we'll double our
But-
bet. I don't know, just was so predictable
Yeah.
from start to finish.
We
But
learned some things about Sid, though, like Sid's full name, which was kind of funny. Siderian, something like that.
I
A
missed
little
that.
bit
She's
about
not to be
Sid's
trusted.
past,
Missed
and
that
a
too.
little bit of a foreshadowing of Sid's gonna do something real shady,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So that was kind of, I liked that. I think that was really the only like forward-moving plot
yeah,
device
think-
of
can't
that
trust Sid.
episode.
I think, and I was feeling that way too, Xanthe. Like like watching these 3 episodes. They, other than like the Crosshair episode, we like these 2, the racing one and the treasure hunt, felt like the adventure of the week. Nothing's really happening.
Oh, see,
But
I
I'm
don't
wondering.
Sorry, continue, please.
Sorry, what I'm saying is like there's stuff happening, but like the Bad Batch is still just a quest, and something happens, come back to the fold, and quest, do something, right? There's little moments of development for the characters, but in terms of like grander story arc, like they're doing kind of a reset every single episode to put it as broadly as possible, as opposed to like really moving the full narrative forward. However, I'm wondering if the fact that they've seemingly been not very successful doing this work for Sid, like it seems like they said, we're 0 for 2 on treasure hunts, right? Like they seemingly are not, like Sid is getting some things out of what they do, but like that could be a catalyst for Sid wanting to be like, all right, if I'm really going to cash in on this investment, the best thing I could do is sell these guys out to the Empire, right? Like, and she might have to make that choice of whether like, because the Bad Batch are not delivering on a regular basis for her. It seems like they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really bringing in the cash. Like that. What was the first thing that they did? They didn't bring any of that money back from that very first episode, right? That was like a big thing. And then they went on the treasure hunt, and they just managed to get out, with the skin on their back, So yeah, I'm wondering if the fact that's the point of all these side missions in this season is to show like they're not doing great, and that is going to force Sid to be like maybe I need to make a choice of whether I sell these guys out and get a big payday from the Empire or not.
And that's interesting that you say that. I didn't think about that because in the beginning of that episode, I thought one of the funnier things that they say is it says like, "Hey, I got a job for y'all," and they're like, well, Hunter and Echo aren't even back from their other mission, and I think Tex said, or Hunter said, someone said, what was it? Moving 50 crates of Nerf nuggets is like high, like not even like up to our skill level. It's like, so she's got them doing such menial tasks at this point because that's all they can get done.
Right.
That's a good point,
Yeah. I don't think so. When I think about like the concept of a filler episode, I think it's a framing that I don't think that is a thing that bothers me. I don't
Sure.
really know even what that means a filler episode, because I don't think it doesn't always bother me when the plot's not moved forward. It doesn't always bother me when people end up in the same place. So I can't say for sure that those are the reasons I didn't feel invested in the fourth episode, because the fifth episode I enjoyed more, even though honestly at the end of the fifth episode I was like, I don't know what happened, but that was enjoyable.
You're right.
But like I don't really I didn't follow what was
Yeah.
happening. I was just
I
kind
think
of
that's what I
vibing on it, and the vibes were nice. So therefore I liked that episode.
Yeah, I think that's why I said like the second half of the fifth episode, because I felt like, especially coming off of the fourth episode with this racing kind of thing, I felt like, oh, we really are doing a adventure of the week here, and it's so now we got a treasure hunt. Wanda Sykes gets their episode. We're doing the thing, and then at the end it just turned, and you're like, what just happened? Why? Why is there a giant dinosaur mech thing destroying this planet? Like, no answers,
I loved
no
it.
no context. It just happened, and you're like, whew, okay, we gotta unpack this for a second.
Musically, I think I enjoyed the fifth episode the best for sure.
I think it had the most music, though. The most
Yeah.
obvious music. The
Yeah.
first two, not so much. The third episode has some really cool points that I want to bring up, but that last one was so full of the orchestral music, and like pointedly so, to the point where I was like, this sounds like Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
it's so
Very
Indiana
Indiana
Jones.
Jones. The whole thing was very Indiana Jones, which is, I feel like a theme of this season is like all these interesting not callbacks, but like references without referencing kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, in the fifth episode, that one, like, I don't know, that one piece of music that kept popping up was very, let's see, people sent a link to on my Discord. The map, what is it? The map room, Dawn.
Yeah.
I'll put a link. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The chord progressions for
Yeah.
sure. I think Sid
Yeah.
wanted Wrecker as protection, but realized that Hunter and Echo would disagree, so they were sent on a meaningless mission to separate the group, as she knew that others wouldn't question her. Interesting.
This is good.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that. What were you gonna say, Justin?
Um,
Oh, maybe nothing.
Indiana Jones. Yes. Map room. I forget now. That was
And a lot
something
of the
along
story
those lines. We'll
beats I
get there.
thought were funny in that I haven't watched Indiana Jones. I'm due for a rewatch, for sure. But a lot of the beats remind me of just the ride at Disneyland and the line
Yeah. There's that too.
where, yeah, it's like don't step on the thingy, the whatever. Some of the things on the wall will light up, type of thing.
Had a little called
I
out
really-
to, I don't know if anyone has played the Zelda games before, but there's this item in the Zelda games called the Eye of Truth, I believe it was called, and you peek through the little purple thing and you see things. But that could have just been me.
That's fun.
Lens of Truth, that's what it is. Nerds, don't hurt me. Lens of Truth.
What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I liked the opening music of episode 5 a lot. When they were in the junkyard, I thought the music was really beautiful, and evocative. And now that I think about it, and listen to the map room, very clearly a building block of like they're in the junkyard and then they're going to be at the mountain. Like, yeah, so definitely foreshadowing that. But that was really beautiful. That was one of the few moments that I was like, oh wow, we get like this whole orchestral music thing going on, that isn't just to build up drama, I guess. Like, it didn't have to be as pretty as it was, dramatically speaking.
Yeah, like it was it, not like it was an accompaniment to something else. Like it fully realized itself through that instrumentation all the way
Yeah.
through. So maybe, well, okay. How should we do this? There's so many things to cover. Okay, we're kind of going out of order.
Let's go.
Should we go
You
in
want to
order?
go back to episode 3 and
I
Sure.
want to go
run
backwards.
some orders
Oh,
here?
You want
I'll go backwards. We can go backwards.
I want to go backwards because we're already in episode 5 so deep. We've
to?
basically just now framed it,
That's
and
true.
we clearly all like it.
Okay.
Although James is really going to come in on episode 3 when, because he just watched that one. Just
Uh,
meaning recently, not only.
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, listen, just pretend that like you're like pretend that I barely watched these episodes because I kind of barely did. So so I have to say like just general impressions of the show. I'm just finding myself like considerably less invested in the show than I was last season, and considerably less invested in the show than I have been in almost any other Star Wars project like yet. So, and that's not, I'm not saying the show's bad. I'm just for some reason I'm just like not like I'm not watching this stuff at midnight like I used to, and I'm
Mhm.
like, who knows why? But I'm just finding that I
Do you think it's because it has a very familiar feeling that we've been through with the Clone Wars, we've been through with Rebels, we've been through with all these other things, and we're kind of back to not pushing the envelope for the sake of pushing the envelope and trying new things, and we're just like we've gone back to like very familiar, very like safe territory.
yeah, I guess that the questions that I have about what could come next in the show aren't as the answers don't seem as big to me anymore. Like I'm like with Mando, I'm like, who knows where they could be going? It's all post Return of the Jedi. There's all these other players, and there's all these like things that they're they're revealing. I don't. For some reason, I got really invested in Andor, even though that I know exactly where that story is going because we've seen Rogue One. But for some reason, I just like that. There's not many more revelations that I can see going down the line that I'd be like blown away by. I guess maybe.
Maybe revelations aren't actually what you seek, though. Maybe revelations aren't. I mean, they must not be that necessary. Like you said, Andor, what possibly story-wise? I mean,
Right.
there
Well,
was
that's
that's
what I'm
just the
saying.
thing, though.
I'm
There
saying
is
like
a
the
lot of
show
story.
itself doesn't seem to, for whatever how it's made, whatever it isn't like gripping me enough to
Yeah.
not to alleviate the fact that like I that it's not because it's all compacted in this like within the context of like between episode 3 and 4. So it still feels like okay, I know what could happen. There's not going to be some huge revelations about about what happens in the overarching scope of the galactic, whatever. Anyway, I mean, this is just me trying to rationalize the fact that I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm a little bit just like, okay, I'll
Although I
watch
will
it every
say,
week. Yeah. But,
yeah, I will say on that though, James, I don't think I've seen a giant mechanoid Brontosaurus,
Right.
Brachiosaurus,
Yeah.
Death Star, laser Power
Yes.
Rangers droid
Yes.
before.
So
that's
maybe
really
I'm holding
interesting.
out for crap like that. I think that I just
Yeah.
need to hold on and wait for it to show me weird stuff. I think that's what
Yeah.
maybe that's what I need to get excited about. It's like what weird stuff are they gonna like show me this week? I listen, Xanthe, if you were really psyched about the sound design and the general feel of that episode, more reason why you need to go play Fallen Order like ASAP. Or just watch people play it online. Because the sound design and the architecture and all the feel was so Fallen Order. In fact, I'm pretty sure that mech in this episode is a reference. And I think I haven't watched Alex Star Wars Explains video on this yet, but I'm pretty sure it's a reference to some of the characters in that game. But anyway.
Speaking about that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Xanthe.
Oh, okay. I asked people, when do you tend to watch these episodes? Matthew says episodes are released at 3 a.m. my time. I see it, right. So then I wait for the next day. I will then rewatch it later with my daughter. Okay. I think if episodes came out at 3 a.m. on the West Coast, I think that would make me more likely to see all of the shows on the actual day than the night before. But it is kind of like a tricky choice since they do come out at midnight here. So it's like, oh, I could. But yeah, I'm not watching them at midnight either. And I'm trying to think of like what things excited me the first season that perhaps have worn off. And I think it's just I'm not really like my expectation level is just not high enough to
Simmered
make
a
me
little bit.
feel like, because I think what makes people excited to watch things is sort of like the expectation of the reward that we'll get, and I think my
Yeah.
brain has learned that I'm not really rewarded. It doesn't feel rewarded enough to make me really crave it. And so it actually, like, it is a nice treat for me on Wednesday nights to be like, oh, okay,
Sure.
a nice thing. But I'm not like, with Andor, like, oh gosh, okay, I'm gonna stay up, even though these episodes are actually kind of long. I really want to know, and I really don't want things to get spoiled. And it's like the stakes are so much higher in my personal, like, I don't know, ranking of how I feel about different media. But one thing that
Yeah.
is not having the same effect on me this season is Omega. I don't really care about Omega that much this
She's a
season.
complete side character this season. It seems like, or not, or she's like she's just in the fold now. Where it seemed like she was much more the focus of the first season, right?
Yeah, plus she's grown
Um,
up a little bit, which isn't to say that
Right.
when characters grow up, they're not interesting anymore. But like
Right.
the novelty, which kind of a lot of Star Wars shows have been banking on the novelty of having a child, right?
Yeah.
And so when you have to make that child grow up a little bit and they're no longer the novel, cute child, like, what are you going to do? So it's kind of just like a batch now, like, of people doing stuff doing jobs. Like, it's just, I don't feel particularly invested in anyone. If anyone, it would be in the relationship with Crosshair, but they haven't really gone into that very much yet. Like, they've kind of hinted at things, I get it, but I think fans are right now doing all the work in drawing connections and things, which is fine, but just whatever is happening, even if it is technically good, and I'm happy for the team that is putting things together. There are some really great elements, some really carefully crafted sounds that David W. Collins tweets about, and I think that's really cool. And I like following the journey of his process and everything. But having like individual great components of things is not enough to carry an entire show. It's almost like, and I actually think the music in this show this season is pretty good, pretty fine. It's fine. It's fine to good. I like it, but I think because it's in this show. It's perhaps not that a good vehicle or the vehicle is not that I don't know it. I'm going to appreciate the Tales of the Jedi score more just because I like Tales of the Jedi more. So it's a good it's a good vehicle. Don't get me a copyright. Don't get the stream taken down.
Sorry, no, I was just trying to find David W. Collins if he had an Instagram or something, because I don't.
Okay.
I don't
think he's
tweet.
just on Twitter.
I do not
But
tweet.
yeah, The Masked Jedi says there's so many shows now. Exactly. And to the point where like Mandalorian's going to overlap with this. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God. That's a
Yeah.
whole other topic though. That's a whole topic of like,
Yeah.
do we care? How much do we care about the Mandalorian now that Grogu is already back with him? Which was like the big cliffhanger. I don't know.
Boba,
I don't know.
and Boba'd around, yeah.
But yeah.
Steele Saunders put up a tweet, I think today or something, where he's like, I wish that we could have a reaction, like people could film the reactions to the previously on Mandalorian, like, and just be like, wait, what? There's a whole show that I didn't watch. That was pretty funny.
That's funny.
But yeah, anyway, yeah, we're tracking. I'll track.
Becoming
but,
a regular Star Wars podcast. Come on, music.
I think.
music.
Oh,
No, go ahead, Christina. I want to hear your thoughts.
No, yeah. So to kind of frame like the whole thing we were just talking about, I feel like I think a lot about. Well, basically, I think that this whole show, the second season of Bad Batch, because there's nothing. So Bad Batch season 1 had the whole
'66.
Order 66. Like,
Mm.
we never knew. That was a big hole that we have always wanted filled. And we've always wanted to know, like, if, like, who possibly survived that? How did they survive? How did they get out? What was it like for them? We've always wanted to know that. And so that carried the show and gave it an arc. And so there was never a feeling of filler episodes in that season. However, this entire season feels like mostly kind of filler episodes. And I think a lot about filler episodes because I love them. I'm a huge fan of every
I
filler
usually am
episode in
too.
every show. They're my favorite. And all of my friends are like, can we skip this when we're watching shows together? I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm here to watch that episode. And it's because I love the slice of life. I love the just like, what is it like in the day of a life of a person? Like, how are they behaving when there's nothing really scary going on? And
Mhm.
they get to choose what to interact with rather than a terrifying threat comes and then they have to react to it. And so I think this show is like that in the sense that, and also in context of other Star Wars shows, a lot of other Star Wars shows do have more plot driven points or at least a clear threat of some kind. But right now, for the Bad Batch, their threat is just surviving daily life, which is therefore then like a slice of life thing. Yeah. So I just kind of felt like that context would
So are
be
you
useful
liking
and
these
contextually.
slice of life
I do
episodes?
like them, but I agree that like I don't feel any sense of anticipation about them where I'm like, oh man, I've like really got to see it. I didn't watch any of these three until this past week or last week or something like that. Like I have no attachment to watching them close to when
Hmm.
they come out.
Yeah.
In fact, I prefer to watch them kind of close together. But yeah, and that's fine in a way. Like it's just like I guess I don't worry about not having the plot driven stuff because I'm kind of more interested in aesthetics and things anyway.
And
So here's the
Um,
thing. I
I'm gonna
totally am
say,
with you on that.
yeah.
Oh, I'm with you on that. So is the Masked Jedi. I you weren't here last season, but I was always the person that was like, I don't care about the plot, like, and it would drive James crazy. But it just it I and the Clone Wars in the Clone Wars that droid arc that a lot of people hate was my favorite. Um, but there are different. I think there are maybe different kinds of like for me, this isn't hitting the same kind of slice of life thing that I think I like in other slice of lifey things. Like for in Andor, when seeing Cyril eat the cereal and hang out with his mom and whatever, or seeing the people hang out, on the in Scotland, Aldani, just seeing, nothing happen, but they're just hanging out on Aldani, kind of just talking, preparing, you know, that's slice of life. I love it. I love it. Those are some of my favorite things. I prefer that actually to plot, which I don't follow very well. But I think going on a new adventure of the week doesn't feel like slice of life to me necessarily, unless, I mean, it could, but I'm not seeing very many new character details pop up or new
Yeah.
things. Like last season, we got the addition of the Mantel mix, and we were super excited about that. Now we're still doing Mantel mix.
Yeah.
I'm just not seeing that much. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
And
I
be
don't know what it
fair,
would
there's
look like,
16
but
episodes in the season. I mean, too, right? Like we have a lot more to go than we would if this was like a Mando season. So there's that. Like this is a
it's
smaller
true.
chunk of the season, and so even though I'm 100% agreements with you, Xanthe, at the same time maybe at retroactively I'll be like, oh, that all made sense, and like Matthew Fab just said. Maybe they'll tie a lot of this stuff together. There's a lot of loose ends that they still haven't reintroduced from the last season, by the way. They had wasn't that who? Remember when Sid's place got taken over by that group or whatever? I don't even remember what happened.
yeah.
But like that
Cute little
could, I
monster.
right, so
Hmm.
right. There's like all that kind of stuff that never really came back.
Yeah.
And maybe it
And
will. Maybe that's the idea. Is like we're building this. I don't know how many seasons they're planning of the show. Who knows? I mean, the per girl. I don't remember was in like a season, was in an earlier season, and then
Yeah, the Space Ghost.
ended up being like, yeah. like paramount to that show, and to the point where that plot point of the Purrgil is now like launching the Thrawn thing into physical media, or what do you call it, live action media. No, right? Like that was how important the Purrgil actually ended up being in that show, is that it enabled us to actually have Thrawn in like the next show, right?
Thrawn has been mentioned.
Right. So it ended up being, pretty important. So yeah, that's right. It's the Thrawn button.
I'm gonna make a sound to like
the
Thrawn button. I gotta like set up a Thrawn bell or something like that.
James also brought up Thrawn first last episode.
I know.
That's right. That's right.
Look at that.
Just want to point that out.
I'm not taking
Okay. Anyway, point being, yes, some of this stuff might, like, at the end of the season or the end of the show, we might be like, oh, great, I'm glad they had all that crap in there that we felt, like, not super moved by at the moment, because
it's a false dichotomy,
like
though.
Yeah, we're 1/3 of the way through the show, approximately.
I think I err on the side of trusting storytellers and whatever, and kind of, I'm kind of glad that actually we have, I know it kind of makes it difficult to prepare and to keep all the past episodes in your mind, but like, we're so used to talking about one episode per week schedule that we're like, oh, we have to remember 3 episodes? Oh my gosh. It's almost good that we have like 3 very different episodes to compare, because kind of having just one to like put all our projections on is kind of a lot, and perhaps unfair sometimes with this kind of show, where the episodes are short. So
considering that previous shows I've never watched like this. Like, I've enjoyed Clone Wars and Rebels and some of Resistance, and I did not watch them on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to, I'm sitting here, like, waiting for the next Bad Batch episode, but I've never watched another animated Star Wars show, like,
just drip by
on
drip.
on a slow drip, so.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I do think it's a false dichotomy to think like, oh, well, I didn't like this episode. Nothing in it really enticed me, but then have something in that episode pay off later. I think it's possible to have something in an episode pay off later and still have made a more interesting episode. That's all.
Agreed. Yeah, you should engage your audience as you go, right?
Yeah. But anyway.
God forbid, right?
Okay, Chuck says, so first I want to acknowledge Matthew's comments before. Now we will talk about episode 5 now. Okay, we've gotten things out of the way. The end of Entombed borrowed so much from Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which Dave Filoni is known to be a big fan of.
Cool.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's always cool about Filoni, and the way he makes Star Wars is similar to the way Lucas makes Star Wars, where he like brings in other like genres. He doesn't make Star Wars like Star Wars, right? Like where other Star Wars creators might like make their Star Wars content, and what they're referencing is other Star Wars content. Like Dave, like he's like, let's have a Godzilla episode. Let's have a racing episode. Let's have, and he's actually talked literally about this exact thing, where he's like that him and Lucas have talked about like we derive it, like we bring in other genres and other influences into Star Wars a similar way that Lucas would do.
I don't know
with
if
his
I would
movies.
have. Do you have a specific example of someone who only tempts their ideas with Star Wars? Because I feel like very few would probably actually do that.
I'm not saying people that only do that. I'm saying that a lot of people that make Star Wars often will just will try to make their show feel like Star Wars.
Right, which Dave Filoni does too.
Sure.
Including and incorporating other things too. And Star Wars.
I'm saying like people like try to make Star Wars within the genre of Star Wars, as opposed
You
to
mean
like
without referencing outside media?
right. So like Dave Filoni would be
does
like,
that?
let's make a racing show, like, and it's within the Star Wars. And this is again, these are general impressions, but Filoni makes his stuff like that, and so did George. Like George didn't say like I'm gonna sit down and make this like Star Wars. He's like I'm gonna make this like he's gonna reference his what do you call it his
Samurai
racing loves
movies,
and etc.
But serious question: what other big Star Wars creators are there besides George Lucas and Dave Filoni? Like who would be someone else?
I think Rogue One in some ways was like making Star Wars to feel like Star Wars. Or actually, I would say The Force Awakens for sure. Like The Force Awakens was like Star Wars like a movie that was referencing, like trying to be like feel like Star Wars within the Star Wars
I see.
universe. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I
Okay. Well,
would.
the
I
films
would.
are different than I guess the television shows.
Yeah,
The
that's what I'm
films are yeah.
referencing. Is
Okay.
the
The
movies.
difference between film and TV.
Like Abrams wasn't like, let me include these other elements of these other genres
Right.
as much as he did. Like, I want this movie to feel like a big Star Wars movie.
Right.
You know.
I mean, yeah.
And
'Cause he
Lucas
was
never
writing
did that.
episode 7 of a big.
No,
big
no,
episode.
it's understandable why he did it. I'm just saying that it's like that's what he did. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So-
I just thought you were comparing to other TV shows, which I wasn't. I just wanted to.
No, I think we couldn't really say that at all. Like Robert Rodriguez was not attempting to make that thing feel like Star Wars at all. I think or to
Anyway,
a certain extent, he's like,
yeah.
how do we make Spy Kids in Star Wars?
The giant mech seems like too big an animation asset build animation-wise to not be seen again. Perhaps.
Perhaps, I guess. I felt the same way about the Vader animation asset that they used in Clone Wars Season 7 and thought like, oh, that means he's going to I was like, that means he's going to show up in Bad Batch somewhere because they spent all this time making a Vader asset. And he still hasn't appeared yet, but we have a whole season, so we'll see. But so I don't know. We also haven't seen a Zillow Beast, and that was a pretty big asset.
Nice. Speaking of assets, we do have.
Mm.
I'm wondering if Wanda Sykes' character Fee seems to be a recurring theme a little bit. We
Like a
had her a
recurring
couple
character?
episodes that. Yes, a recurring character. And I was about to say, is there a musical theme that you've noticed at all that goes with with Fee Genoa? I don't know how. I looked
That's
at
a
their
good
last name.
question. I would have
She
to.
had some-
There was music, so there was definitely like recurring music in the episode. I'm not. I guess I'll have to see her in the context of another episode to know for sure if it was like Fee themes or if this was just more like secret mystery themes. You know.
Yeah,
Treasure
totally.
hunt,
Right.
you know, because like I could see like things that popped up for Fee being like a treasure hunt theme or something. But like
Totally.
like it was like.
She had in the.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say from my notes from the first episode when
Yeah.
she first appeared very briefly, she had this kind of slinky, mysterious, stringy theme kind
yeah.
of music going on with these like kind of harpsichord scrapes and stuff like that. And I think the same style or approach, sound world was approached at the beginning of this episode when she's talking and telling those two bar dudes her story of that Tech was like. I think I want to say that the music was very similar.
Okay.
Very, very similar.
Like harmonically or just like the mood?
Yeah, harmonically, the sound world. I'd have to go back and like see if the notes were the same, relatively kind of a thing. But I feel like they were both very similar. Like when that music came on, I was like, oh, it's Fee's music. You know,
Oh,
it's
okay.
Fee's sound world kind of a thing.
Cool.
At least from what I heard. I also found that part interesting in the beginning of that episode because I think the beginning, I'm always excited to hear more of Sid's Jukebox or whatever's playing out of that, but I felt like maybe I looked too much into this. The beginning of the episode, there's some character, some NPC walking by, and you hear like dum 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 dum, like kind of like the sound of a bass drum coming from a club kind of a thing. You're like, oh, they're walking by Sid's bar, it's a thing. And then when we got into the bar, the music got quieter.
Do you
So
mean
I
in episode
couldn't
1 or
tell.
episode 5?
5, sorry.
Oh, okay, okay.
Episode 5,
Yeah.
like the music got quieter, and I couldn't tell if it was like, I don't know. It just was an interesting sound design choice.
So you're
The
saying
music
like
did get
sound
quieter.
mixing-wise.
The music did get quieter, and then when Fee started, and we're kind of like, Fee was in the background telling a story to those two other characters. But then I was just listening to the part where, just a little bit after, where Omega shows Fee the compass thing. And the music is really interesting there in the sense that it is very well timed so that Fee's voice and the music are neither of them are prominent at the exact same moment, but Fee's voice is very melodic. And it was very interesting just listening to it. I felt like Fee's voice almost felt like a like a melodic component that went with the musical background, I guess. Like her storytelling voice is so the range of pitch that she uses to speak
Hmm.
and the yeah, I feel like there was something very musical about it.
So when you're talking about opening
You
the
know what?
compass, are you talking about like when the choir comes in?
I'm talking about
Talk about like the first 2 minutes of the episode,
three
right?
3 minutes 40
Yeah.
seconds in right now. I am at least.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I see.
Sorry, quick correction. I was thinking of the fourth episode,
Oh, okay, okay.
not
Yeah,
or
maybe
yeah,
more
the
like
episode 4,
3:30.
not this one.
Noted, Justin.
Don't you love the trope in stuff like this where a character mentions a thing that apparently every pirate and smuggler knows about, but like you as the audience have never heard of this, and you've been watching the franchise for like like 20 years. Like every pirate and smuggler knows about this thing with this compass and like this giant mountain in the heart of the mountain. You're like, do they? Okay,
I
I'll
think
take your word for
you're
it.
actually hitting on, I think, one of the major themes of the whole series, which is that I think the Bad Batch is having to adapt to a completely different worldview. So while the Empire is all about order, so was the Republic in a way. So the Bad Batch
Mm-hmm.
thinks that people who are reliable are people who follow the law. People who are trustworthy are people who like don't have any dealings with anyone sketchy. And then their main contact is Sid, who we've already had some seeds dropped that they're going to have to deal with trustworthiness with Sid.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, maybe Sid is super trustworthy in the scope of people who are not, like, literally a part of the Republic military force. And similarly, I think Wanda Sykes' character is somebody who, like, there's a lot of indication that like they're not always telling the truth, or they love to tell tall tales, or that story changes every time she tells it. A lot of that kind of stuff. And the clones, well, I don't want to say the clones, that's the Bad Batch. Some of them, like Hunter, almost never trusts anything she says. Every second that he has an opportunity to be like, no, no, you're ridiculous. I can't believe you think that. He takes it. And but at the same time, you point out that there's this whole lore and mythology that people who were in the Empire or in the Republic military weren't exposed to, that
Yeah.
pirates do know. And I love that this whole thing predates the Jedi. I love stuff that predates the
Yeah.
Jedi. That really excites me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. I think
I
that
love the technology drip, or like the technology. It's like apparently millennia ago, they had the technology to make a giant like cyborg. You know what I mean? It's like
I
the
think
technology advancements of the galaxy are always like a little bit like, what exactly means, what technology is more advanced than other technology in this galaxy? Like. Apparently, this is like literally like
yeah, I
the
feel
Jedi have been around for
it's
millennia.
incorrect
You know.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, just
Totally. No, I was interrupting you very
I'll just
clearly. So,
No, it's like it's like that
um,
episode 1 thing where it's like we just waited all these years for the first new episode of Star Wars, and all the technology is like cool and better, and you're like, well, hold on.
right.
Where were these Naboo fighters all these years?
Right.
Where were these shield generators all these years? Hold on a second.
Yeah, I love
I
it.
feel like that giant mech could, I mean, it isn't necessarily a reference to it, but it made me think of Zahn's Thrawn books, because in those books there is like this really old weapon that's just absurdly powerful, like a planet destroying weapon that you wouldn't want to accidentally activate. If you did, everyone would die. So
Right.
I feel like that's a little bit similar to this, where it's like, oh, it's called the Heart of the Mountain. It's so
Right.
nice. Don't start it up.
Right.
But if you
Very Prometheus
needed
like.
to
This is
destroy a
like
whole planet, drop it on there.
yeah. This reminds me so much of Prometheus if you've seen that movie.
Yeah, it did. It really reminded me of Prometheus. It's like Indiana Jones meets Prometheus episode.
Meet Zahn.
Meets Zahn.
So tell me if you think like the sort of theme that was popping up throughout this. Well, one of the several themes that was popping up throughout this episode a lot went something like, and the harmony is important because the harmony was very back and forth, like solidly between these like 2-3 chords. So it first comes up, and maybe this also came up in the first episode, but I'll have to go back and check. But is this like on cello? And it's this sort of, oops, let me put this down an octave. It's kind of going really around a minor, like a minor tonic, and then going to the diminished 2, diminished 7, 7, 7, like a lot of this. And this happened throughout the episode, like a lot of this between this and this, which is actually, it's not a very common like progression. It's more like of an oscillation, really, because it kind of was going back and forth, around the tonal center.
I like how you described that, an oscillation going back and forth around the tonal center. Yeah. I had trouble bringing this up. I was like, I could do an example. And I was like, what am I going to say? Like, it went.
But you recognize what I'm talking about, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think that's one of the things, besides like the endless choir of this episode, like revealing secret choir epic moment kind of a thing. It was like, that was what called out the reference for Indiana Jones music so much for me, was these chords going back and forth. And this, like, not to get hardcore music nerdy, but this like pitch class that was kind of happening a lot.
Like a pitch class set.
Yeah, it's
What was the set?
I didn't write the numbers down. I wrote the notes. It had this kind of these like weird, almost melodic minor, but not kind of a thing. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Indian ragas work. Some do, where there's a certain note set that you'll go ascending the scale, and there's another note set that you'll do descending the scale.
Can you play it again?
A little bit of chromatics in there, like that's like all of it, but then it would become like they would use that to create this. There was another like really recurring theme in there. There was this cello kind of thing they were doing. Yeah, that's like exactly. You're just writing this down as I. Yeah,
I'm just transcribing you.
Yeah. I want your ears. Anyways. But it takes me hours to figure this stuff out. I failed at all of music theory. But it was there's another one. It was
Yeah.
kind of that theme going on a whole bunch. There's even there's a distinct flute clarinet part that was like. That part was, I stuck out the most when they first entered the mountain. Like they found the secret door behind everything, and then they first entered, and you got a lot of that kind of music. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I have it written.
And a lot of 60-30 things. Fourths.
Yeah.
Oops.
Very chromatic.
Yeah, and it's like the planing fourths at first, but then it goes to sixths. It was like dee 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 dee. It was I need dee 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 dee. And that popped up quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like what you were saying, it's kind of like a pitch class situation, but also more like just a gestural language, where it's the language of planing more or less chromatically with I guess what we'll say is like sad, or questionable. What am I trying to say? Like not major um, intervals. But, there's always a feel of minor thirds rather than. I mean, I don't think at any point I've heard like a major scale or something. Something typical. A lot of Star Wars is very like, yeah, we're doing this feeling in terms of its tonality,
Like that?
and that is, and that's not what we're getting here.
Mhm.
Well, at the same time, I feel like pretty, there were some pretty clear, like harmony choices. Um, that, well, first of all, okay, 7 6. Let me just see if I. Okay, I'm looking up. Do you know what fort numbers are? Fort 7 6. No, okay, it's fine. 7 6. Okay, I'm just. Okay, so the set that you just mentioned is Justin. The set that you mentioned is the fort. Let me screen share so I'm not just like speaking randomly, seemingly. Um, Here. Okay. Okay. Oh, that screen shared the absolute wrong portion of my screen. Okay, here we go.
1 2
Okay,
5.
so
Yeah.
is that calculator? Um, okay, so I put in your notes. It's, um, but obviously, okay, let's see what the supersets and subsets are. Okay, let's see. Subsets would be easier to see. Okay, let's see tetrachords perhaps. Okay, 4 1, 4 2, 4 3, 4 3. Oh, 4 3 is a big one. Okay, 4 3. 4 4 3. 4 3. Okay, I have notes on 4 3. Oh yes, where else do we hear? Where else do we see 4 3? Okay, we see 4
So
3.
hold on, Xanthe, you really should explain what you're talking about. to
Okay, okay,
people
okay.
watching this stream.
Okay. Okay.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm seeing lots of Vader. Okay. So rewind like 10 steps. Okay, okay. So if we were to, instead of calling notes by their names, like here we have D, E, F sharp, G, A, whatever, that can become, that's fine for some purposes, but for some analytical purposes, it would be easier to add a further layer of abstraction by, sorry, I'm trying to show, there we go, a further layer of abstraction by just calling them numbers. And that can make it easier to conceive of things like transposition and, honestly, it is easier to work with numbers a lot of the times because there's some seemingly arbitrary things like, you have a note, then you can make it a sharp, but between E and F, there's no sharp. That's still just a half step. It gets very confusing. So if you reassign all these things to, I already have notes on this somewhere, to something 1 through 12. Let's see, where would I have notes on this already? Probably in here. Yeah. Oh, look at me. Okay. So if you were to reassign, if you were to assign like C to 0, C sharp to 1, D to 2, you get it like there's just a half step separating each of them, and you can go up to 11 or 12 if you have an octave. So you can transpose things easily just by adding. You could just add 3 to every number. A major chord, which normally would have like C, E, G. So that would a major chord, the pitch class set. That's what it's called. Pitch class set is what a set of numbers would be called. So C, E, G would be 0, 4, 7, and that's not just the set for a C major chord. 0, 4, 7 is the set for every single major triad because you can just transpose, and it's similar to like geometry, as you can see right here. That's like transposition. So you can input a set of numbers and you can translate it to what's called prime form, and get like kind of the version of it that is easier to compare because you're seeing all the different things that maybe sound initially like they're different notes, but then when you normalize them to the same key, whatever, it's easier to compare them. So what I was doing was I was just looking. I mean, in grad school, like we learn how to manually calculate these at some point, but you can also just go to this like online tools that will put the calculations in for you. So if I put these things in the pitch class set calculator, it will spit out what the normal form, prime form. Don't worry about these. But more crucially, like since Justin gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes, it's calculating, it's giving me a set that is of those 7 notes. That's, by the way, fort name just means like the first fort is a person who just gave these different sets a name. It's kind of arbitrary names, but the first number 7 means that there's 7 notes, and the second number is just the number in his system. So it's not something you would ever really memorize, but the first number is crucial because it tells you how many numbers are in it. But just thinking of like, oh, the fort name 7-6, that alone can't tell you like all the other related sets, because this might be related to a set that only has 3 notes or 4 notes. And so, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like, in order to kind of think of relationships, you don't have to find something that also matches 7 notes. You could also maybe find things, subsets, that's what these are. You can find the subsets of things with 5 notes. You can find, if you're looking up a set that has only 2 or 3 notes, you can look up the supersets, so you can kind of extrapolate, what if you added more notes? Basically to just discover more relationships. That's all I was doing. So I was just kind of putting in those notes to see where else there might be relationships spotted elsewhere in like Star Wars to those types of notes. So just a very cursory check. I'm like, oh, okay. Like there's some, ominous sound, Vader stuff where those notes or, a subset of those notes will pop up.
Quick and dirty summary is the notes that Justin played. You can find notes. You can find notes that sound like those because they're the same space apart from each other in the examples that Xanthe just brought up.
Yeah, so it's about the space.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pitch sets, it's intervals, it's a lot of that stuff. You use it a lot in synthesizer world too. If you're not like worried about what your fundamental note is, like if you don't care if it's a C or a B, it's just a pitch, it's just a tone, and then building up from there, kind of a thing. Knowing what those interval or spaces are, create
in a very basic way. It's like seeing triangles in one piece of art and seeing triangles in another one and being reminded of the other piece of art because of the triangle in the most like obscure, basic way you could put that way.
Well, yeah, in fact, there's a different type of analysis that is useful for certain purposes like this, where the tonal center isn't necessarily super stable all the time, but you still want to analyze the relationship between the notes, and that would be Neo-Riemannian theory, and you literally can like draw, you can really see shapes and think of translations in terms of like things that go up a half step or whatever, like transformational theory, etc. Okay,
we
so
love half
it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So okay, so episode 5 stuff. I guess. Well, Justin already basically played one of the big examples.
That's great.
One of the big recurring things that sounds very Indiana Jones. And let's see, there's another one that I'll play. Let's see. I was very taken by this Heart of the Mountain stuff. Okay. Okay, so this is, should I tell you where it is, or should we do the quiz?
It's good.
Quiz.
Let's quiz it.
Quiz it? Okay.
Quiz, because I'm like, I don't.
James
I wouldn't. Yeah. I barely watch. Let's go.
Okay. Okay.
Bam, boom, bam, boom.
Sorry, I didn't write the harmony in there, and I'm like, why didn't I do that? No. Okay, whatever. I'm just gonna play it without harmony then, but just know the first chord is this. Okay. Let's do an octave lower. No, I need to give you the harmony. I'm sorry. Let me just listen to it.
This is the part.
Okay, there we go.
It is in episode 5. I remember it. Yes.
Yes, this is episode 5.
Okay, good.
Is this the part where Omega is practicing piano?
Oh, how cute. She could play the
Fair, that's
piano.
fair. Yeah. Okay. Wait, what inversion? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then up an octave. Okay, let me skip. This is a shit example, I'm sorry. This part might be better. Okay.
They're in the tunnel, right?
Oh my God, Xanthe. Ooh, okay.
They're in the
Oh.
junkyard.
What'd you say?
They're in the junkyard.
Oh, you can tell I just forgot to fill in the chords in my transcription.
Okay, I think I know. It's when the thing's spinning, right? The tunnel is spinning.
It's a good
Like
question.
when they unlock.
Do you remember where it is?
Oh, now isn't that the icing on the cake there?
Do you remember where it is?
It's when they unlock the tunnel, so because so that they can spin it around, right? And there's like this huge choir singing. No, is that not it?
There's not a choir,
Okay, so
but there is
This is
a
part that-
percussion instrument that we've talked
There
about
is?
a lot. There's a bell.
oh, interesting. Interesting. A second. Let me listen to this again real quick.
And I'll say
Oh.
one of you was right before. I just can't remember who it was. Of like where it dealt with.
Hmm.
And the melody,
Junkyard, tunnel, spinning, door.
like there was a very specific shift on the violin where at one point. Yeah. And it's like horns.
Is it where they were? Oh. Is it where
Oh,
they were
interesting.
putting the
Someone said
heart
that.
of the mountain into the mountain?
Is that what happened? Is that how they opened the door?
Here's the
was when they were about to
compass.
It was when they're opening the door.
Which the door that's just a door,
Wow.
Like
or
I
the
said,
door
I
to
don't
the
really-
mountain.
So, and just to be
Probably
clear,
the
the
second
part
one.
where the tunnel spins also quotes that exact motif. The bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam. So that motif either reappears or appears for the first time, depending on where this example actually is in the episode.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so there's two doors that happen then.
There's
Well-
3 doors.
Oh crap! Like I said, this whole thing was like, okay, going to
There's
another
the rock
tunnel,
door,
going to
there's
another
the spinny
thing.
door, and then there's the spinny door.
Okay, I think it was probably the first one. It was the one where it's like, oh, there's a pattern, blah blah blah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Love it.
Glad
Awesome.
that one was. She's also like Heart of the Mountain is I think the first time perhaps we
that.
hear that said out loud. But the way, yeah, okay. So I have
Yeah,
another.
there's a lot of ba-da-da, ba-da-da. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll play another one. Let's see if this one's more successful. Okay. Okay. Imagine like kind of like arpeggios.
Ooh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So that I don't think this moment. That music just sounds like music that you would hear when someone's telling you a story about something. So it's not. It kind of feels like something that like someone's divulging like mysteries to you.
Mysteries.
But so it's not. But that's what it reminds me.
It is mysterious, and it sounds from your expression, it sounded like some of the, bless you, chords surprised you. Like it kind of went to like, ooh, like unexpected places, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, is this like when the mech is like activating?
No.
Okay.
That I do know.
Then I do not know.
But I would say there's a lot of mystery before then as well.
Is this the part in this episode where there's the mystery?
Does anyone have a guess?
I don't.
It's not when Fee is discovering what the compass is, like looking through Omega's junk in the beginning of the episode. And like, oh,
No.
you know what this is? This is the okay.
It's later than the first example.
The heart of the mountain? Finding the heart of the mountain?
Perhaps.
When
I
she
think
reaches
so.
and grabs it? Da-da-da.
Yes, it's a sparkly
And then
thing.
puts the sandbag back on the thing so it...
The sandbag?
Yeah, she takes the thing and then you put the sandbag on it so it weighs the same. And then the giant ball doesn't come...
Wow, my comprehension
rolling
of this
down at
episode
you.
was very poor. I don't know about the sandbag. What I remember most from this section, now I'm like, what part was this?
It's
even?
a Raiders of the Lost Ark thing.
Oh,
where
okay.
Indy gets the
thinking-
idol and... Yeah.
I'm thinking like there's like the lantern and there's that purple. They see that purple shining crystal or whatever.
Oh.
And then there's like even that kind of sound design where it sounds like kind of slice. It's like the rays of light, but it kind of sounds like slicing-ish.
Yeah.
It's like sharp. The sharp
No.
sounds. Yeah, like starting at 1858. But some
Oh,
cool
yeah.
harmony, right?
I was suspecting it was there, sort of,
Ah.
but I was still listening to it, and it's also it is all very similar to each other. Meaning all the music in this episode
Yeah,
is hard
it
to
really
distinguish
is.
from the other music in this episode until you actually listen to it, and you're like, oh, okay, it's distinct. But it's
Yeah, that's fair. Mm-hmm.
like I keep thinking it's going to be the junkyard theme, and then I go back to the junkyard. I'm like, no, this is very distinct and very not what
I think
was just being
I
played.
think this episode
Because the
just like
feeling is very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
feeling is similar. The tone, the sound world is very similar, altogether, kind of a thing. It overuses like the choir thing a lot. I know this wasn't a choir moment, but
It feels like it could be though.
it absolutely feels like it could. Like if you said, "Oh no, that was the choir," I'd be like, "Oh yeah, okay, I believe you there."
So
But-
the chord progression at the end. Well, maybe I'll play through the chords again, just because. So it's going. Actually, let me show on screen now that it's been guessed. So it's going like E minor, F minor. So already that's like,
Yep.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of a flat 2, which we're going to, sorry, F minor. And then it goes all the way up to F sharp major. And that I think is like a first big surprise. And then it kind of is in this F minor, E flat major, or you could think of it G flat minor. Whatever.
Interesting.
And then this part, and then it goes, and then goes all the way up to E flat major. This sort of it's going from F sharp minor to E major. So it's not only changing from minor to major, but it's going down 3 half steps, right? So, yeah.
Going minor to major and going down 3 half. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those instances where you make something major sound creepy in its out of
Yeah.
placeness, via, yeah, just in terms of the context of all the major things. And it's also very Danny Elfman, Tim Burton vibes.
Super. I'm getting
Yeah,
very
totally.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
What's cool
Yeah.
too is like I don't know, like I'm not again not the best with like chords and theory and that kind of stuff, but what I see and hear out of it is like oscillating between this half step progression of the two chords and then going a whole step until eventually we get like a what is that, a minor third between the chords in a way. So like going from E to F sharp, then E flat to F sharp kind of a thing. We're just kind of like
Progressively
making that space
widening
a
the
little
gap.
bit bigger each time. Almost like we're opening the door, figuring out the mystery. It gets major chord kind of a thing. I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
I got an
Vibes.
example.
Okay.
Where does this come in? See if I've still got this good. This might come in loud. I apologize.
Nice.
That's so cool.
And it's got this like kind of like fake French horn thing coming in on top of that. Anyone guess where that was?
Anyone
Oh
know?
my gosh, it's when the giant mech was blasting the area in front of it directly.
As
And
it's like coming out of the mountain. It's this mechanical monstrosity. It almost sounded like Metal and Animal. Anyone get that? That mech sounded organic to me. There's just something about
It's like groaning, you know.
yeah. There's something about
sounds.
the metallic like groaning of it, which was pretty cool.
Now, is that the sound of his blast ray, or I don't know why I assigned a gender to this
To the
to the dinosaur. But is that when it's coming out of the ground, or is it when it's blasting something?
It's when it's coming out of the ground, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure if it's score or if it's the mech itself. It's like almost a representation of both. Like I believe both answers, kind of a thing, because it's happening. It sounds like they took a sample of an engine or of like this machine starting up, but then gave it this like revving pitch shift kind of a thing, because it kept repeating with the score. And then there's one point where it kind of goes back down again at the same time as it like the orchestra is building, and we got this like weird fake French horn, like these like clanging kind of, and then it eventually like as we see the beast like in all of its glory, that dun 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 dun, like the big doom chords kind of a thing happening. That's right as that's happening.
Do you have a timestamp?
It was no, I do not. It's literally when the thing is coming out. Let me see if I can find it real quick. As
You know, it reminded me of Maleficent coming out in Phantasmic.
yeah.
I think it's around the 21 mark, 21 minute mark.
This is another
20 minutes, yeah, around 20
classic
minutes.
Xanthe references very specific Disneyland experiences.
Well,
they're
Justin
I
feels
know.
me on all of the Disneyland.
No, I know.
I got you on
That's why I
that.
bring it
Yeah,
up.
absolutely. That's
I remember.
that's
I remember one
and
stream. You're like, yeah, the reminds me of the music to Space Mountain. Like, who knows the music to Space Mountain?
Justin and I do. We almost.
I know you do.
We
I
love
know
the
you
music
do.
of Space Mountain.
Yeah.
I know you do. I don't.
Uh,
That reminds me of the background music when I'm getting cat and candy in Tomorrowland.
I would
That
probably
sounds-
recognize it.
You know, that was essentially Sid's
The aerial
jukebox,
loops are a
so-
big deal at Disneyland.
Oh,
That
I
sound
love
reminds
that.
me of the hand dryers inside the bathrooms outside in the
Yes.
Magic Kingdom.
I have a list of the different qualities of the different bathrooms at Disneyland. They all
That's
have
right.
different specific pros and cons.
I could probably confirm that list.
Yeah. I will say the Galaxy's Edge ones are amongst my favorite.
They're great.
And the hand
They're
dryers are
wonderful.
actually pretty nice. They're nice and they're nice. There's plenty
Got a
of
nice
them, and
soundtrack
they're
going
kinda-
on in the background.
Yeah,
as
there's
you,
Dianoga
do the
creaks while
thing.
you're going to the bathroom. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
So,
I think regarding the instrumentation of the moments when the mech is doing things, I spent a long time listening to the brass section and trying to decide, what kind of techniques they were using, and it sounded like they were using mutes and what do you call it when they do the? I want to say it. I tried to call it
Trill?
like
well, they're probably just going
Huh?
like that.
Lip trill?
lip trill. That probably is it. Yes, a lip trill with a mute.
You're just talking about somebody going like this?
You're saying because it
I
sounded
think
buzzy, right? Like,
Maybe buzzing would actually be the right.
You're talking about when
I
somebody
mean, I
does it
guess it's
with.
the same
You're
thing.
talking about a brass player?
Yeah, like a brass player technique
Like-
of what they're doing into
Uh,
the ombre in the thing.
Well, if they've just got their mouthpiece, it's called buzzing.
Mhm.
If they've got the horn on it, I mean, that's just kind of how you play the horn. But are you talking about specifically like a
Because it makes that growling sound.
yeah.
yeah? Oftentimes it's just like you actually like speak into your instrument to create those.
Yeah, I was
those-
just gonna
those
say you
tones
could do
Like a
that.
kazoo.
Yeah.
as you play. So
Yeah.
But the thing
Mhm.
is, I think it was samples probably. So,
Yeah.
I,
yeah, that mech was very. It was specifically. What do you call it? Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
Says Genie Cantina.
Mecha Godzilla. The mecha was very Godzilla.
Yes.
Yeah, what's the is that what the name of that thing
Yeah.
is? Mecha Godzilla?
Mecha Godzilla.
And that's where
Oh,
Yeah.
it has a name. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
the robot version of Godzilla is Mecha Godzilla.
They basically make a Mecha Godzilla to fight. Is it to fight Godzilla or is it to fight another monster? I don't remember what the plot line of why they create, but it's a basically a kaiju created by human beings.
Well, without getting too nudie, are we talking about the new Godzilla movies, or are we talking about the Mecha Godzilla
I think
movies from like
the original
80s?
because it's different, right?
Okay, I'm lost. I'm
Yeah,
lost.
they're very
It is
different.
okay.
I love the Godzilla.
Anyway, Mecha Godzilla is a character in the Godzilla films that is a giant robot Godzilla.
Yeah,
That's all you
Okay.
need to know.
used
Okay.
to fight. Yeah.
Genie knows.
Yeah.
Genie.
And like I said, I think they make it to fight Godzilla.
Mhm.
So-
Okay.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. The way that you. That checks out. That makes perfect logic. That's perfect logic.
Maybe that's how this
perfect
is all going to
logic.
play
Perfect,
out. This
right?
Yeah,
this
maybe.
Mecha Godzilla thing is going to fight some other big monster in
the Zillo
later on the
Beast.
bad
It's gonna be a
side.
Mecha
The
Zillo.
Zilla Beast is coming back. So Zilla.
Yeah.
and
Wait,
is
wait,
this
wait,
the
wait, wait,
Mechazilla?
wait.
Is this
Hold on.
Mechazilla?
Mechazilla.
Hold on, guys. Hold
Gonna
on.
fight?
Okay.
Because I was reading it. Don't there are these like mini monsters happening in this episode, right?
What do you mean
Yeah,
by
there's
mini
like a mini
monsters?
one. Yeah.
There's like these mini like
Oh yeah,
well, I
like
guess
the
they're not
snaky
mini.
thing, like
they're
the
big.
reptilian things.
yeah.
Didn't somebody? I read something like that they looked like the Zillo Beast. These things, these small
Oh, okay.
things.
They were mostly in the shadows. I don't really remember.
So
Oh,
I
it's
was reading
true
something online
because
that somebody said that they look like the old Zillo Beast. So my theory is, what if this thing was made to fight the freaking Zillo Beast?
You know, I
No.
would believe that.
It's like literally a Mecha Godzilla.
But of
Why
course,
do they need to do that though?
Because the Zillo Beast was maybe terrorizing everybody, and they were like, let's make a big mecha thing that we can use. The same reason why people in the Godzilla movies made Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
And Pacific
they're
Rim,
only-
they make the mechs. Is that what they're called in Pacific Rim? The mechs?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like... No, they're not. They're called
Um,
something else. But anyway.
Jaegers.
But Jaegers, that's what they're called.
Jaegers.
Jaegers.
That's what they're called.
But yeah, maybe that's what they're for. Maybe what that thing is for. And that's why there's all these reptilian little things around, because they're actually the baby Zillo Beasts.
And maybe
Maybe.
that's why the planet was ravaged, because that was their only choice to destroy the thing, and it ended up.
Right.
I know.
I guess that is a
Destroying,
question of like what made it get ravaged.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that has to do with animals is this show's on notice of, not in a bad way, just I'm going to be paying very close attention to how they handle this, because the way that the Rancor was dealt with in the Book of Boba Fett was highly unsatisfactory to me.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Ah,
Star Wars
fun episode.
doesn't usually do a very good job of handling big monsters, handling big beasts. I'm not saying animation with the craft or anything. I just mean on a story level, I'm pretty much always unsatisfied with their fate, and how they choose to make peace or kill or assert dominance over
Yeah.
creatures.
Yeah.
I feel like the big old mech in this episode was made by the civilization who lived there. I suspect they destroyed themselves on purpose.
I was also wondering because with the giant beam thing,
Probably not.
it wasn't like exact, but it reminded me a little bit of the Death Star.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm very
Oh,
curious
yeah.
if
and it
if
had that dish
the
on
Empire,
it. Well, obviously.
based the cannon itself, not the ship, but like the weapon itself, off of this thing.
The strongest
being
stars
Death
have
Star-
hearts of
Hypercrystal
Kyber.
or something
Yeah,
powered.
I was
Yeah.
the
Maybe
maybe they're testing the technology.
maybe what they're maybe they're no, they're
This
already
is pre-Death Stars. Death Star's
this
not
is
done.
pre-Death
This is
Star,
way
but the
pre-Death
Death Star,
Star.
right? It's pre-Death Star, but
Death
it's
Star
the
is
Death
in
Star's
production.
plans have already been revealed to exist.
And at the end of Episode 3, Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, they do show the Death Star structure
Being created.
already.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
they
But
had
who
a
knows
little
when
moment
that's
there.
supposed to be, right? That just
So I'm
that
curious.
just
But it's already-
Yes.
I mean,
So
they already know how to
maybe-
make big blasty stuff. It's just that it's hard to obtain the resources to
right.
do it.
Yeah. But they are
Unless
still
you-
working on something of that scale. The energy thing is still
Yeah,
being developed
I'm curious. Yeah,
by
yeah.
Galen Erso.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious if there's going to be a connection. Maybe that's going to be a connection. They're going to
I
come
could see
after the Imperials are going to come after this thing to like get something from it or base its the canon design off of the Death Star. Like they've got the idea, but they need the the means.
Now, was there any
Wait,
was there
why,
any?
why would you think that, as opposed to the Empire created that monster? Created that mech?
Because they mentioned that the thing was pre-Jedi.
Oh, right.
They said
okay,
the
okay, right.
ancients.
I
Like
see.
this is before the Jedi. I loved that. It's like this is the ancients, and someone's like the Jedi. It's like no, before the Jedi. I was like, what's before the Jedi?
Did anyone actually?
Which I know we
catch-
could.
I need to watch
Yeah,
this
I know,
movie,
yeah.
Matthew. I've meant to do. I need to go
Oh,
through.
watch it, Xanthe.
I know. I
Watch
need
it,
to
Xanthe.
go
It's
through
good.
the Ghibli films.
Yeah.
I think the mech and many others destroyed the world.
That's a
There
really
might
good
be more
one.
mechs buried there.
That's cool. So what was I gonna say? What was I gonna say?
Does-
I don't know. Prism?
I don't remember. Not important.
I keep wondering if
Um,
there is more tech buried there that the Empire will come and want to dig up. I can
Yeah, that's what
assure
I'm
you,
wondering.
yes. And
Oh.
also, I don't want to give Catalyst spoilers, but there is talk in that book of like having to source things from Jedi things and from world, stuff.
Oh, I remember now.
Yeah, it
Is there
does.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Christina.
I was just going to say that it does appear that that civilization was the Zepho civilization, an ancient species that lived before the Jedi. They were force sensitive, very advanced.
Right, from Fallen Order.
They had the same shape.
Okay.
Never mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a similar shape to the thing. My question, I'm wondering, is did anything happen in this episode in terms of lingering things to that planet that if somebody went and investigated that scene that they could find? Like, did the Bad Batch leave anything there? I don't remember anything happening like that. That the Empire went there, they could figure out what happened there and tie it to the Bad Batch or anything like that. Does anyone remember anything like that happening? I don't think so, but I'm just wondering how they would tie this episode into if they ever revisited this planet. How would that even tie into the show. Is like, like if the Empire went and investigated or something like that. You know.
It'd be a
I think
good
the stuff.
trap, lure someone to that land, and then just put the heart
Yeah.
where it goes, or
I
wake up the
I feel
monster.
like I feel like if I was a betting person, that I would probably bet on never seeing this planet or this thing ever again in this show. But you know, that's probably like if I was really going to bet on. I mean, I'd like to. I'd be curious of how they would tie it into the rest of the plot in a meaningful way. So, but
James, I've never played Fallen Order, as you know, but I know you have.
Yeah.
Is there a musical connection at all to?
definitely not musical connection, but like I said, the sound design is pretty similar.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of zings and also just the way visually and sonically, it reminded me so much of that, for sure. And there's a lot of moments where in that video game where you're like, kind of realizing that there's like some technological thing that gets triggered by a small action or something like that. Some big action is triggered by something you do in the video game, and it's like crazy, So that happens quite a lot. I did feel like this was a very video gamey episode for sure. Like it felt like a video game. It's like
Jeannie
they're
says,
like
I
singing-
doubt
yeah.
that is the only mech that is buried there. There must be more tech scattered around. I think you're
Yeah.
right.
No.
And I think that could be reason to go back to the planet for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, why scavenge a simple junkyard when you could scavenge like
Something
an ancient
ancient.
civilization that built stuff that's
Yeah.
that's that powerful?
Right? Put it in a museum.
Is there oh, this is a good question from Chuck. Is there an umbrella term or point of origin for the type of mystery Indiana Jones-ish
Crypt buried
buried treasure music?
I think you just coined it right there.
Yeah, there we go.
I think
The
you just
single
coined it.
simple
Indiana
term,
Jones just
yeah.
crypt buried treasure music. Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah. But I get what you're asking. Is like, are you asking maybe? Hi, Ziggy. Like what things might characterize that music? Perhaps.
Yeah, for like as we know, like the planets was a big template for some of the big broader music in Star Wars that indicates the cosmos in some ways. Is there any references that Williams might have used to create that aesthetic?
Well,
That would
even
make
so-
him draw from that
Well, I don't think.
for Indiana Jones.
I mean, was it Saturn in the planets? I believe has this very honestly, like Saturn has this very
Well, it's
like
probably
sound to it. Bum, 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 bum. It's got that kind of thing going. So I feel like it's all influenced.
Right.
Oh,
Both are Williams.
I'd also like to
scores.
bring up Eric Korngold because I think he was so influential in just general film music tropes that probably there has to be some root with him as well.
So like horror movies.
And he
that
may have
similar
also been
cues?
referencing the planets.
I'm just wondering if
What
there's
did you
a
ask,
horror,
James?
like a classic horror, universal horror movies that had previous cues, maybe, or I don't know.
trying to think, too, 'cause
I'm
Well,
not
let's
aware
also
of
think
them.
of like romantic music, classical music, where the film scoring tradition would have gotten its start from, because we can trace it back to a movie or a reference or whatever, but it probably, I don't know. I feel like there are probably seeds that go very, very back, and I'm not. I'm trying to think of like I don't know. I honestly think sort of like of almost chant, like Gregorian chant for some of this stuff, just in in when there's like that homophonic texture, and
For sure.
when I'm thinking of like the planing movement, also, I guess Bernard Herrmann did Journey to the Center of the Earth, pre-Rage's Origin. Well, how would we characterize this stuff? I think a lot of it is like we were seeing a lot of like minor chords that were leaping to seeming. Okay, I'll tell you something that strikes me about this music is definitely its chromaticism in terms of like the chord progressions aren't diatonic whatsoever. They're pretty, they're chromatic. They can go from an F sharp minor to an E flat major, or an F sharp. They're kind of going. They're not using strictly diatonic functional leading harmony, but they're not non-functional in their own right either. It's just like, I don't know. There's the chromaticism. I feel like is a big hallmark.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, I'm seeing a quote from Alex Ross's "The Rest Is Noise,"
I'm reading that.
referring to John Williams and other Star Wars musics, and how it was tied in various ways to Eric Wolfgang Korngold's music. Um, and for and it says here, indeed, both share a fundamental pattern, a triplet figure, a raising fifth, a stepwise three-note descent. Also Korngold-esque are glinting dissonances that affirm rather than undermine the diatonic harmony, as if putting floodlights on the chords. I feel like
Such a description. I love it.
Yeah.
it is, but I feel like it was. I feel like I like the idea of the floodlights on the chords in the sense that, I feel like this is just not like there's nothing particularly thematic going on.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like
What do you mean by
chords
thematic?
scooting around. I guess I mean
There's not like a motif melody.
Do you mean melodic?
Melodic?
Okay.
or harmonic supporting melodic, either one of those things. It's neither of those.
The harmonic
Which I guess
being
So do you
the
not-
moving part. Yeah.
So for like, you don't feel like that has a strong harmony?
It doesn't have a strong melody. I think it's only harmony.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And therefore it is kind of not allowed to be thematic in the sense of leitmotivic, perhaps. That might have gone a stretch too far.
But I think you mean I think you mean melodic mainly.
yeah.
Right.
Is
Because
any of this
I feel-
Wagnerian?
I guess it depends on because Wagner certainly has, because I guess different leitmotifs, some of them, the melody might be a really salient part of it, but some of them, the harmony is really the important part of them. So like you could invoke a leitmotif, not with like melody, because it might not be a standout melody, but with the harmony, and that would be, if anyone wants to learn more about that, listen to the Empire Strikes Back episode that came out last week. The episode is called Free Floating Motivic Particles, and that's basically what we're talking about, is like these different particles that aren't like necessarily the actual melody, but they're like particles of the leitmotif that are kind of free floating. And also, that was an episode of Frank Lehman, who made this the Star Wars thematic catalog. You can find that on this channel. Not to plug that, but it's related and very relevant. So,
Yeah.
I
Did
need
you
to
say
do
free floating leitmotivic particles?
It's called free floating motivic particles.
Motivic particles. I like that phrasing.
God, I hate when that happens. Gotta get like an air purifier.
You're like, I need to change
Get
the
I
motivic
need a melodic
particle
purifier.
filter.
Melodic purifier. Harmonic purifier.
Herman also did Ray Harryhausen creature movies, which had a lot of mystery cave wandering music.
There you
I need
go.
to watch. I need to do a classic movie.
Good old Herman
Marathon.
Munster.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the input, everyone, and for asking the question, Chuck.
Love it. Hey, y'all, do we want to talk about any of the other episodes?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's shift to episode
Yeah.
4.
Well, I feel like this episode had a lot to talk about.
This episode had the
and
most for me to talk about.
had the most
so.
music. Since we're going backwards, I got an example for you. I'll tell me where this showed up,
Okay.
perhaps in episode. What is it? 4? 4.
Fast
Which I wrote the least
Episode
amount of
4.
notes as well. I think I wrote 2 things for this whole episode because I was like, I don't hear any of the music. I just hear sound effects. Where did this appear?
During the race?
Oh yeah. This was my one.
I'm so happy
This
you
was my
remade
one.
that.
My one note was tech. No.
Oh my
Get it?
god!
Right.
Oh,
It was
No.
techno for tech. Tech gets techno. This is all from Shelly right now, which is hilarious to me. Yeah, I had this moment, almost like out of body moment when that happened. Where it's like we went through this whole episode doing this, and then just in the middle of Tech's race at 16:58 is the time mark that I found. It just out of nowhere just becomes with Tech just going. I was like, we did what happened? Was it like again, this is just me being silly, but like what dodge it, dodge it, dodge it. Like where did we did the team, the Kevin Kleiner team, like watch Andor and we're like, they did techno, hey, throw it in there real quick, like while making this episode, like, well, we gotta do it. It was just so random at the end. I just felt like it would have served a bit better to like have it throughout all the races instead of just in the middle. Like does something cool and now we're just into techno. But I thought it was a great little, like, it was the one musical moment that really stood out to me in this whole episode. Personally, I don't know if anyone else has. And then like the string orchestra comes in and there's like some orchestra over it and it like oscillates, since that's like our word of the day, between like string
like
action music with hard hitting bass music, stuff like that. I thought that was pretty funny.
yeah.
Yeah, techno.
I noted the techno was
just
when he was in the race car.
Yeah, but specifically when Tech was doing it, and halfway through Tech's race, it comes
It's
in.
the new Tech leitmotif. It's the new Tech theme.
Is it
Now,
gonna get
every
the-
time that Tech does something cool, except in episode 5, there's going to be this techno theme.
gonna
Since
save
we did
this-
not hear
this.
this in episode 5, we know that.
Diegetic. It was just being this is what Tech was playing in his Riot Racer while he was doing this. He's like, I need my coding music. Hold on. He's doing this.
Well, remember that scene from season 1 where there was like they were on that planet and they were like it was the episode where Justin, you pointed out like what's going on with speeders. Remember when they're all in there? And there was there was that one cut to what that guy was listening to, and then like
yes,
that?
you're right.
That's kind of what I like having these little moments.
This is what's going on in Tech's helmet at all times. It's just this.
That's actually why they call him Tech, not because of his abilities, but because he loves techno music.
He just
Oh,
loves
and he has
techno.
a clarification.
I mean, when he was talking from the I'm pretty sure it was just it was great. It was it was a very funny, to me, funny moment. I was like, all right, let's shift this music.
I mean, it was
Tech in this, and Tech was a great feature. I love what this season is doing for Tech personally. Yeah. He's getting a lot of great moments, and I loved when he won the race. And they're like, "You won!" He's like, "You seem surprised." I love his deadpan. Like, yeah, I did. Of course, I'm always of course. And then he has this little, like, we keep talking about dehumanizing Tech because of his abilities. He has this moment when the crowd is cheering for him, and he clearly doesn't know what to do, and he's like, a moment, like, oh, okay, this is what you're supposed to do at this moment. I thought that was wonderful.
Pretty awesome.
Tech.
Teo is also a welcome addition, I think.
Teo is great.
I love when he just gets smacked by that bus or whatever it is.
You love that.
And I love the framing. You just waiting for that to happen, and he's like yelling acroos the street, and then just gets whacked. Perfect.
It's funny because droids are thought to be more, Tech is. Teo is like a. Failed is not the right word. Just like a not very droidy droid. Teo is more like about his skill and about his. You got to feel the race. I don't actually know the exact quotes, but
right.
Teo acted more perhaps like, Tech is the one that is making calculations and projections and whatever, and Teo the droid is just like, I'm a racer, just acting more like a human.
Which is interesting. I've always wondered that with some droids in Star Wars have these such distinct personalities, but they're programmed to. Are they programmed to have that personality? Does someone say, "I
Yeah.
want to make a winner asshole droid," kind of a thing? And
Yeah.
or was that the thing? It always brings me back to one of my favorite books and movies, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where we
Oh, yeah.
have this character
Marvin.
Marvin, who's a depressed robot,
Right.
and he mentions, "I'm a personality prototype. Can you guess what personality they gave me?" Like I was a prototype, and I was stuck with depression as my personality type. So I'm wondering, like, did they like put in a chip? Like, we want you to be this kind of
Right, this
droid.
obnoxious asshole. And of course, it's Ben Schwartz, right, who's the voice.
Yeah.
Who is
Who,
that?
of course, is in Parks and Rec as what's his character name in Parks and Rec? He's
Ralphio, Ralph.
Oh, Jean Ralphio.
Jean Ralphio.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So it was basically him in
wow.
droid form, which was great.
Oh, wow.
Love it. I love it. So yeah, Ben Schwartz is so funny. And yeah, perfect.
I think the thing with droid personalities is that I think perhaps a 70s understanding would have been like you put a chip in it and whatever. But in this year, in the 2020s, I think we collectively have more of an understanding of like you program something, and if it's something that runs on machine learning algorithms, you don't really like have fine control over all the facets of their personality. You kind of like train it on stuff, and then it kind of develops on its own, which is like how so many AI tools have kind of gotten out of hand, where like the people who made the tools didn't necessarily mean for things to go that way, you know?
Right. I kept thinking that Teo would be like a weird candidate for like a villain, or some droid is like, he's like, you know what? I don't want to race anymore. And then just goes off and builds this like droid fleet. You know what I mean? Like turns his like intelligence and personality towards like something other than racing. Like makes that choice and says, you know what, Sid? No. And runs
Well,
off.
L3 ends up
kind of
being a
thing.
droid who decides to take her own path into her own hands. So yeah.
And R2D2 in a way does that too. I don't think anyone controls R2D2. I think R2D2 does what R2D2 wants to do.
Yeah. But I think he's happy with his general role in general.
Absolutely.
Enough.
But I think no one really tells R2 what to do. R2
Yeah,
does
for
it
sure,
because
for
R2
sure.
wants to do it.
And that's because
Which
of the
is
way he
funny,
was originally
though.
programmed by Anakin.
Right. And which is or that's C3PO.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess there's
Yeah.
R2. It
But,
depends
like-
on what role he's in, right, Xanthe? Because when like R2 is being bought by the Lars family to basically help them out, he's like, nope, peacing out and go and find an Obi-Wan. You know, so I think it depends on who he's with. You know.
Yeah.
And an interesting parallel to that, I know we're going to get to the third episode because we're moving backwards, but at the end of that, I love the reaction of the clones to droids. And they're they're kind of like, oh, it's a droid? Or they don't trust droids. They've been trained to battle droids. Their droids don't make decisions. All these, like, there's that line at the end of episode 3 here where Cody says, the difference between us and droids is that we make our own decisions and we have to live with it. But Teo is clearly making decisions. Teo is clearly doing what Teo wants to do under Sid's employment, kind of thing. And I like that Teo refers to Teo as Teo. Teo is an artist. Teo.
Yeah. I was very entertained by him. Very entertained.
Totally. There was another, or it's like one of my favorite examples of droid, I don't know, I'm not going to call it tampering, programming, and was from Xtina Ireland's book in High Republic series, A Touch of Courage. There's, I can't remember the character's name of the human or of the droid, but the young character who's like really good at programming decides
Avon?
to add just a little seed of personality option to allow her droid to begin growing. should the droid want to, and then over the course of a couple
Right.
days sees how the droid changes, and the droid
Yeah,
drastically changes.
and the droid ends up like using profanity, right, or something like that. Right?
Oh yeah,
Or like, yeah, it's good.
totally. So
It's good stuff.
that's cool.
Yeah. So I want to now go back to the wonderful resource that is David W. Collins's Twitter, where he confirms or denies doing certain things to the sound. And regarding this race, a lot of people were asking if he used sound from the pod race, of course. And so he shared a few things. One of them was, let's see, the boost sound. Okay, first he says a tidbit. Anakin's boost sound from episode 1 was all over this temp track, the Bad Batch temp track. But I wanted to make a new one. Tech's boost is based on a recording of air hissing out of a balloon with explosions and mechanical elements mixed in. So that's
Nice.
what he says about that. And then let's see. He says, I listened to Anakin's boost and asked myself what it sounded like. My brain lit up when I thought of a balloon. Before I could second guess it, I'd already cut it in, processed, and augmented it, and it was working, so I moved on. That's like that's a pretty realistic. That's like how it goes when you're working on deadlines sometimes. It's not like you found the perfect thing. It's like, this will work. Let me try it, and then I'll tweak what I've got, and then that's it. So
Right.
it sounds like
and then you grow to love what you know.
yeah,
what
and then
you've
it
done.
becomes sort of like the definitive thing, and then people are like, "Oh my gosh, how did you think to use that?" And then all the sound
Right.
designers are like, "I don't know, I just took the thing and did, I don't know."
It's like elephants and TIE fighters. I mean, I'm curious if they're like,
right,
yeah,
right.
the elephant will be perfect for this. So they're like, I don't know, throw it in there.
Yeah,
Hi, James.
yeah. James just disappeared. Okay.
And Christina. Bye, Christina.
Oh.
It's so cold. I have to get another jacket.
So let's see. Someone else said, I heard the sound effect utilized for shield interactions against the speeders. Is it correct to assert that they are derived from the sound design for the Gungan energy shield? And David said, yes, beautiful, perfect sound. Communicates what's happening immediately. I always loved those shield impact sounds. Yeah, so Gungan energy shield, which I love. I love those. And then, let's see, another tidbit. Let's see. Milegi, is that what that guy's name was called? Or am I thinking of the wrong episode?
Yeah, Milegi.
Milegi, yeah, okay.
I kept thinking Tech was saying Milady. I was like, Milady?
Oh,
Who's Milady?
right, okay.
I kept...
So, James, go bye-bye. Okay. So I'm just going to put things in his place.
James,
Okay, so for that, I used another Ben Burt technique on Milegi called a subharmonic synthesizer, which is popular in house music production. Basically, you're enhancing and extending the low frequencies, which has the effect of making Milegi sound larger than human. He definitely did sound very, yeah. Tawny Ames was in episode 3, so we won't get there yet. Let's see.
Yeah.
And then a subharmonic synth was also used on Jabba the Hutt, FYI. But unlike Jabba, Milegi didn't get any pitch treatment. That's actually an interesting distinction. Okay, James is rejoining. Let me let him in. There he is. Well, behind a couple layers of creatures. Okay. We try not to alter performance, especially not from Ernie Hudson. Less is more, just a subtle effect, but especially noticeable if you have a subwoofer. So yeah, I guess both of these creatures people had subharmonic synths applied to them, but while Jabba got pitch treatment, Milegi did not. And someone named Ernie Hudson did the performance for Milegi.
Yeah, Ernie Hudson. That's right.
James, can you rejoin but choose mono?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
But he seems to know who Ernie Hudson is. Let me look it up. Who's the Ernie Hudson? Ghostbusters. Oh, okay. Winston Zeddemore. And then also Sergeant Daryl something in The Crow. And then also in HBO's Oz. He also was in...
Ghostbusters. Ernie
Yeah,
Hudson.
okay. Yeah, James knows. I was just discovering that as you were off. Like, okay, Ghostbusters. Yeah. So these are some fun facts from that episode.
I love it. I love the random cast additions of these particular episodes. Like Wanda Sykes is like, I just love seeing people you wouldn't at least I wouldn't expect. Like just reading some of the nerdiest Star Wars dialogue ever. You know what I mean? It's just awesome. I love it. I love it. And, like,
James, turn your gain
Wanda's-
up.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting. It wasn't any different from before. But yeah, Wanda Sykes reading all those lines. Ernie Hudson like as this weird mobster. You know, it's like Ben Schwartz is a asshole droid. I do like where we've gotten with Star Wars. I don't think Clone Wars had like almost any celebrity appearances like this. So I think the fact that, you know, Star Wars has got this a little bit elevated, like Star Wars television content has got this like elevated profile, I think, because it's like on Disney Plus, it's like more people are watching it. There's just more of these like fun cameos, I think. I'm having fun with it at least. But I don't think Clone Wars was nearly as like well known at the time than like even Bad Batch is now. Does that make sense? Like, is you know, like I feel like I don't think Wanda Sykes would have done it. Maybe she would have.
I think it also depends on what other roles actors are getting jobs for at the
Yeah,
moment.
that's
Whereas
true.
now
Yeah.
I think more are doing streaming services, whatever.
But yeah, I just think it's the nature of streaming these days, and it's the nature of where Star Wars is in the cultural sphere that like you're getting these like fun little cameos on these shows, you know.
Yeah.
And like the cultural like behind, I feel like that's happening to a lot of like geeky nerdy franchises lately.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite observations of like say the Harry Potter movies where they got these acclaimed award-winning actors to shout Wingardium Leviosa with a stick, like and to like convince us that this is happening. You know what I mean? Or like the Marvel movies too, like who's gonna play this character? It should be this celebrity. It should be this celebrity.
Ford
And then
is cast in a new Marvel like
right,
Thunderbolts
it's
movie.
just like let's
It's
just throw them all in there for the sake of doing it. Like Harry Styles appeared in the end credits of one as a
I
major
mean, they must be
character. You're
getting
like,
paid
sure,
some big
why
bucks
not?
for this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
James,
what it is.
you can
Absolutely.
still turn up. You're like, for some reason, like way.
Yeah, so for some
softer.
reason you're a little quieter. I don't know. Xanthe, is it the Ecamm mixer?
No, he's turned all the way up.
Oh, weird.
Check.
Oh, there we go.
There you are. That was weird.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, I think
your
it's
M1
also
chip.
it's just like there's bigger budgets for these things now, and so they can
Yeah,
pay these
absolutely.
people. So,
I do
yeah,
kind
it's
of
great.
wish that it weren't this way, though. I will say that I'm not bothered by it. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to notice most of the cameos, especially in animation. So it doesn't quote unquote bother me. But like, especially for live action, and because there's like an expectation of star power now, I do get like a little bit not. I don't know. I wish I didn't see so much fan casting and whatever.
Sure.
Which
Get
I
I
understand
can
why
understand
people.
that.
I understand why people do it, and I don't mind it. I feel like I don't need to see a recognizable person in things.
Which is interesting because I feel like there's like two ways that this can go. You either cast the person, as an actor, actress, whoever, as a character that you just do not recognize, or you make an animated version of that person and turn them into a character, which I feel a little bit is like Fee. Because when I saw
Yeah.
Fee for the first time and heard Wanda Sykes' voice, I was like, they just flat
Put
out put
Wanda
Wanda
Sykes.
Sykes right into
Totally.
Bad Batch. That's,
Yeah.
thing. Whereas in,
But also,
in this example,
Katie Sackhoff, Bo-Katan.
mm-hmm, that too, whereas in, we just, put another major actor as a droid. So you wouldn't recognize them, but you got their personality. I don't know. I find that's the two approaches. I find interesting. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, in like voiceover auditions for game and for like motion capture auditions and stuff, sometimes they care more about your voice, and then sometimes they also are going to model like your physicality as well. So, yeah, because then Ashley Eckstein is not an obvious like ringer for Ahsoka. And
honestly, and I don't know if Rosario Dawson is either. Like, honestly, when I see Rosario as Ahsoka, I don't feel like she looks very much like the animated version of Ahsoka.
I kind of
too.
do.
You do? I
Yeah.
don't know why. I feel like there's like a different. There's something about. I mean, I'm not bothered by it. I think she looks great.
I think
When
I've
I first-
seen Rosario Dawson in enough things to be like, oh, that's Rosario Dawson
Yeah,
cosplaying Ahsoka. Great.
Yeah.
Like I see that. Again, I have no complaints yet because the show hasn't come out. We've only seen little bits from.
Yeah.
Was that Mandalorian or Boba?
I am very
Mandalorian.
like,
What happened?
and
And
I'm
Boba.
very much anticipating. Like, I hope. Okay, we're so in the
Genie,
weeds,
same.
and I love it. But yeah, I'm very much anticipating like the look of Ahsoka being like much, more polished and like doable with action than it was in Mando. I feel like I can't imagine the Ahsoka from Mando doing like a lot of different action scenes without it looking clunky. Just the
Yeah.
way her tails, like if the action is not better than it was in that one episode in season 2, in like how it looked, I
guess
feel
we'll
like
see.
I might be
We
disappointed.
shall see.
We shall see. Okay, so do we have anything else about episode 4, or should we move on to episode 3?
Let's move
I
on.
don't.
Cool. All right, episode
Heck no.
3. This one was called The Solitary Clone.
I loved this episode.
Do you have an example to place for us?
I do. I got 3 for
Okay,
y'all.
awesome.
First one, here's a sound effect.
Okay.
Let's see if this works. Thank you, Ziggy. I
Yeah,
hear you. This one's for you,
she's
Ziggy.
a sound effect.
Hopefully this isn't too loud.
That is Crosshair's alarm when he wakes up in the morning.
Yeah. It's
I liked
Crosshair's
that sound a
alarm
lot.
clock.
Yeah, that was
I
really
loved it. I thought it was so interesting because it's a gentle alarm with a nice gentle light, but it's so cold. And not just the look of the room, but it's just such a like time to get up now. Like get up.
Yeah.
It's just gonna keep
Right.
going, I don't know. I just found that sound, especially when we hear it later in the episode. You had the framing from the beginning of the episode when we first see Crosshair. We're like, oh my goodness, it's Crosshair. What happened to him? And then at the very end, it was a very interesting, like, what's it called? Book ending, or where you have something
Bookend?
at the front, you have something at the back, kind of a thing.
It's bookending.
Bookend.
Yeah. I thought that was a really nice touch, and the fact that in the first time we hear it, he wakes up to it, and in the second time, he gets up, and then the alarm goes off. Like he knows this is when it goes off because it goes off every day at the same time. Probably
good
not controlled by
observation.
him. I thought that was really interesting.
At least it's not a hot floor.
Yeah, at least it's not a hot floor. Oh, geez. With those things. And then there's that, like, funny, like, PA announcement sound. Like, burr, burr, burr. PT, blah, 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 blah. Please report to the office. I was half expecting, like, Roz from, like, Monsters, Inc. to be like, PT 2199, report to general office. Like, the most unenthusiastic, like, you're being called voice kind of a thing.
So there was one moment in this episode that I thought was a little strange, and actually I saw there's a Star Wars content creator, Eckhart Slatter, that made a comment about it on Twitter. I don't know, Xanthe, if you could play that. I mean, it's just like a little tiny 2-second clip from the episode.
I
I'm
saw his
wondering if-
tweet when it came out.
Yeah, so I just sent the tweet to you. If you wanted to play that.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
curious to what you guys
think
thought about
I
this one
could.
moment here.
If
thought
the
it was
stream,
kind of
if the stream gets
unintentionally
automatically stopped,
funny.
y'all will know why.
Okay, I'll
But
take
it's only 4 seconds, so hopefully.
Yeah, I really doubt it will trigger anything. But yeah, I'm curious what you guys thought about this particular moment. To me, I kind of agreed it was like unintentionally funny to me. This right here. Oh, no sound.
Oh, you can't hear that, can you?
That part?
Well,
I
you
don't
got
know
to
why
hear
you
the
can't.
sound.
I don't know why you can't hear it. It's weird.
The sound.
is
The
it-
reason I brought it up is because the sound is the whole reason why I found it funny.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Let me see. There we go.
Oh yeah. It's like,
see the
who
sound.
messed
Wait,
up?
play it again. Play it again. I gotta see it again. He's like right there, like right behind him.
But is that the
know
part
why I
that gets
found
the
that
belly
so-
laugh? Because he
Yeah,
says
because
it's
it's
mostly
like-
the sound effect.
Yeah, that. I mean, that's what he's talking about. Is that? Like, it's just like it's like a slow pan, and he's like just right there, and it's like. I don't know. It's like the timing of it is very funny to me, and so I was curious at how that moment affected your experience, guys.
I didn't
if you
notice it.
remember that.
I didn't really
Oh,
remember it until
I was
saw
like,
it.
oh,
That's funny.
that's kinda-
Well, that's it makes me sad a little because that was another example that I built up,
okay.
and it was probably one of my favorite parts of this whole episode and why I liked this episode. So no, go ahead, James. You
Sorry, Justin.
laugh it up. It's all good.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Let me just delete this real quick.
No, please.
Oh my god.
Come on, it's literally the only example I remembered from these 3 episodes. So just give me a break
It
here.
stuck out to you
At least
before
I
you
remember.
saw X tweet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I remember
Oh,
watching
I
it
didn't
being
see
like,
any.
that was a little awkward.
Oh, that's funny.
I-
I didn't really notice it. To me, that was like a dark episode, so I was like, I don't really know what I'm seeing.
I see. Okay.
My comprehension isn't great. Especially on dark episodes where it's visually not much contrast. But what's funny is like in isolation, that scene it really doesn't stand out to me as anything that much more silly than so many other things that are in this show. So I'm like, that's kind of on brand. Yeah.
Can you play the sound for us, Justin?
Yeah, it's cool to know how
mean,
you
we just-
recreated it.
I mean, I don't.
Yes. Yes.
Big hits, big sense kind of a thing. The reason I
Sounds so
liked
good.
it was because in the arc of this episode, I felt like while watching this episode, we know Crosshair is the bad guy.
Do you have a timestamp for that, Justin, by the way?
2156.
Okay.
I labeled it as Crosshair follows orders.
Yeah.
The reason I just watching this episode, not only did we figure out what happened to Crosshair, they left him on that thing for like what 35 cycles, he said, and even Rampart was like, "Why did you come back?" It's like because I work for you, kind of a thing. And we're getting a very different image, but same image of Crosshair. And what I liked about it is that this entire episode felt like we were watching another clone adventure from Clone Wars. The music got very triumphant. The music got like, the gang's all together again. We're seizing the
Right.
tower. We're doing the thing. It's like, for a moment, you kind of forgot what side they were on.
Right.
Like, it was this exciting, like, how music really screws with you. And, like, wow, we're rooting for Crosshair. We're rooting for the Empire for a moment. Like, they're gonna complete the mission. Yeah, we're getting these really interesting, like, separatist viewpoints. All of a sudden, we're painting Dooku as no longer an enemy, but someone who is, like, really had a good intention and was used as a puppet by the Empire and the Emperor to, like, do these things. We got that from Tales of the Jedi. We got that from this, was it Tawny? Was saying, like, you know, Dooku was right. He saw what all this was gonna be. Blah 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 blah, and we have this, like, again, like, Clone Wars music comes in, almost like triumphant, and then like, for a moment we feel like something good's gonna happen, and then out of nowhere, Crosshair's is like, no, shoots,
Right.
you know, the thing, and the whole episode just goes, oh
Right.
crap,
It's like, this is
And then
bad
we
batch.
get- yeah, this is the bad part of
This
the
is
bad
this
batch,
is not
you
the
know?
Clone Wars. This is like
Exactly. And it
yeah.
moves on, and we get this like cello moment and these synths and these just what I was hoping that you were gonna show for us. And I don't know. I just thought that was a really gorgeous part of the score. But I
I thought it was
understand
too.
why it's like oh look, it's an impact kind of thing. It's like da da, you know. I get it.
Listen, I love the moment, and actually I love the sound. It's literally just it's actually the visual component that I think is funny because I think the pan over is a little too slow, and it's like I don't know, something
I can
about
see
it
that.
is like it's like this. It's like boom, and he's just standing there, you know. I don't know, something about it. Is
I get
just
it. I get it.
unintentionally
I'm
funny.
screwing it. I get it.
Yeah. No, but I agree with you. I do agree with everything you said. So,
Yeah, that was my favorite
think
musical
it-
part of the episode, especially when the
Yeah, it
like cello
provides a
comes
bit
in.
of humor. Oh, sorry, guys. Xanthe, you keep going.
Oh, absolutely.
No, that was all I had to say.
Absolutely.
Especially when the
You?
cello comes in with the harmonics and stuff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel
No,
like it was
it's just
comedic
funny.
relief.
Comedic relief.
Comedic
Sort
relief.
of.
I don't think
Like
that's what they're going for.
I feel like that was a really dark moment, and in order to make it like like almost like take itself too seriously, they're like right when Crosshair appears. Kind of also in like a it's kind of like there's Debbie Downer. Like there's the
Yeah.
guy who follows orders no matter how
right.
terrible they are. Like
Mhm.
they're like I feel like it was a little bit like that. And it was I mean otherwise it would have been kind of hard to come out of that. It would have been kind of I mean it would have been depressing. Can't have that.
Right.
It was depressing though. At least for
And
me.
not long after that, I mean, just like a really good music cue is just at the end, we had a different ending credit
Yeah.
Mm.
There's no
theme.
bad batch
Blah,
theme.
blah, blah. Yeah, because they weren't. It's like that episode wasn't about the Bad Batch, right? It's like
Totally. And we
Yeah,
get
it's
this weird like kind of gaslighting moment from Rampart and saying, "Oh, you ever notice that all the people you're around seem to defect?" You know. um,
Yeah.
clearly you're the problem, or one of those kinds of things, like to keep him doubting, keep him
Right.
perhaps from
Mhm.
defecting. Um,
It's kind of
Poor
true though
Cody.
that like Crosshair represents one of the most off-putting things about the Empire, which is just like ruthless, do what needs to be done
Right.
because you decided it needs to be, or because someone decided it needs to be done. Kind of a that is one of the most off-putting things about the Empire, other than all the other
and
super
it's not
off-putting
just
things.
that. I feel like with that, it goes beyond the Empire. It's his mindset of like, I work for X, therefore I will do what X. Because before it wasn't the Empire, before it was the Republic, and then it became the Empire. It doesn't matter who he's working for. He's working. He follows
Mhm.
orders, and someone like Cody, who's like sitting there like, well, maybe we aren't doing the right thing the exact way that we thought about it. I mean, and even Cody kind of still believes in the Republic, saying, look, we're here to bring peace, and this is what they told me, this is what we're
Yeah.
doing, kind of a thing. And Crosshair doesn't care about any of that. You know, it doesn't matter if they're doing it, making the galaxy better. He's just following orders. You know,
I you know what
Speaking
I
of
think
programming,
Is that
yeah,
going
just
somewhere?
speaking
I
of
think
programming, I mean, didn't they take? Oh, sorry. I'll let you
No,
think,
no, no. I'm not.
or you know.
I'm not saying anything. No. You said speaking
Oh
of
no, I was talking to
programming and
James.
oh,
no, go for it, Christian.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically we do know from the end of Bad Batch season 1 that when Crosshair was recovered by the Empire, they basically changed his settings so that he has way less he's almost incapable of having an emotional response to something. And
yes.
it also seems like he's almost unable to adapt. Like he's kind of like rather than somebody who can learn new things and grow into a different person, they kind of got programmed him to be stuck in the exact same place. I think that is just notable to bring up, and it's an interesting comparison to the following episodes with Tech being being a little more emotionally savvy and making jokes and stuff.
We actually, yeah, that's actually right. What I was thinking is in terms of his special ability out of the Bad Batch, it makes the most sense for him, his personality, to be like that, or at least him to cope with what his purpose is, because out of all the Bad Batch members, like his job is to be able to just
An
be able to
assassin,
kill
like,
people, just
yeah.
kill people easily, very easy. Everybody else has a skill set that can be applied more broadly within the scope of like Wrecker's just really strong, Hunter's just really sharp, and
good
has
leader.
keen senses, right? Good
Yeah.
leader, and he's got like a tracking
right.
ability or something,
Yeah.
right? Tech is just like he's like a data pad, right? And Echo is just a cyborg basically, but Crosshair's job is to look down the barrel of a gun and be able to kill things instantly and perfectly, right? And so whether it's in his programming or whether it's the way he copes with that ability and that job, it makes sense that he would need to be able to like, listen, following orders has gotten me through everything so far, like, and so this is what I know that makes sense. And if he decides to stop following orders, I can see him having a nervous breakdown, right? Like it's like, because his entire life and his entire everything that he's built everything on is boiled down to him following orders to kill people. And so if he starts to question any of it, like I could see him breaking down and really losing it. I mean, the rest of the Bad Batch can kind of more easily dissociate themselves from the Republic because they haven't been asked to kill nearly as much as directly as Crosshair has, potentially or possibly. So,
What's
Yeah.
interesting too is that Crosshair wasn't necessarily given that order. Cody was given the order. He was the Empire dude was yelling at Cody to do it, and Crosshair was just like in the middle of a sentence, like, no, all right, we're done here. I'm kind of a thing, which prompts Cody later to say, we make our own choices and we live with them.
Yeah.
You made that choice. You weren't ordered to do that. There was an order to do that to me, perhaps, but you did not do that. And I'm curious if Cody would have done it. I really wanted to see at that moment, like, is Cody going to defect right there? Like, right there? Or would he have shot Tawny? You know? We
Nah,
didn't
Cody's
get to see that
clever.
play
He
out.
would have found a way to make it all smoothed over. Like that's kind of his strong suit, is negotiating skills and saying like, okay, we're gonna take you captive or something like that. There's plenty of other options.
And then even after, like, that, kind of like a Crosshair power move, in a way, of him doing that, when he's at Rampart and Rampart says, oh, you're assigned to this thing, he's like, not
Cody.
Cody? Like,
Right.
what do you mean I'm not with him anymore? And it's like, oh, you went AWOL kind of thing. It's almost like, well, what do you mean I'm not with him? He's in a way, he's like, he's my buddy, kind of.
Yeah.
He's the one person here that I trust, you know?
Yeah. And speaking
Cody's
of the
character, well, I was gonna say Cody's character is interesting in the show, because pre this show, Cody, in my mind, is like the definitive like follows orders clone, because he's the one that like shot down Obi-Wan Kenobi in Revenge of the Sith. And I had always envisioned Cody as being somewhat of an adversary for the Batch at some point, or being an adversary in some way in some other future thing. Like, in fact, there was little murmurings that he might even appear in the Obi-Wan show once upon a time, because he has that previous relationship and he would be like searching for Obi-Wan or something like that. But obviously, it didn't happen that way. But it's interesting to me. He's not unlike Boba Fett, where like Boba Fett kind of got replaced by Mando in terms of like the essence of who Boba Fett like kind of was, at least in his function in the fandom. Like Mando became like the cool bounty hunter with blah 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 blah, blah, the whole thing. And then so they had to find some other different route for Boba Fett to be once they brought him in, otherwise it feels redundant. So I kind of feel like Cody is like Crosshair is kind of like who I would have thought Cody would have been like somebody that would not defect, because to me, and he was like a total villain in Revenge of the Sith, and but it's so long story short, it's very interesting that they made Cody be a kind of defect to me. I also find it kind of funny. It's like back in the Revenge of the Sith, he's like, "Hey, go kill your commander and one of your closest friends," and he's like, "No problem." And they're like, "Hey, come kill this random person in this thing." He's like, "Wait a second, I gotta think about this." Like he had no problem shooting down Obi-Wan Kenobi, but like it's like this random villager or whatever or the this random separatist, but it's cool. I mean, it's nice. Good on Cody that he got through it and he's kind of turned to the good side. So,
Well, it's interesting too because when they're charging through the town there, and we see that random like mother and child that we saw drinking water in the beginning of the episode, and Cody's like, "We're here to help," and they're like, "No, you're not," and they kind of close the door on him. It's like, "Are you?
You're literally
Do you
insane.
really think that?"
right.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, because as far as clones who are heavily influenced by the chip are concerned, they haven't really, like, their missions have changed, but their goal is still to serve and protect.
Right.
Yeah. So Matthew says Cody talks about how clones are different from droids in that they make their own decisions, not realizing that he has a chip in his head that removed his ability to make a choice for Order 66. But we are seeing examples of some clones being able to kind of work through that despite having, because the chips aren't working. I guess that's a big problem that the Empire's having, is the chips aren't 100% working anymore. They're kind of, the effects are maybe wearing off for some. So something about that, like maybe they need maintenance. I don't know. Yeah.
Like maybe destroying Camino, the facility that worked on the chips, maybe contributed to how
Yeah.
they're not being upkept properly.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Yeah.
Yeah. You destroyed the server that has all the cloud information. But
Oh,
again,
and that reminds me, we're gonna get at the end of Bad Batch season 1. We have the scientist, and they brought the remaining Kaminoan. That's a plot point we got to tie up later. Sorry, I just remembered that.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's also like the whole like Omega is Boba Fett's like clone basically thing, right? There's like
Yeah,
that whole thing.
there's that too.
Yeah.
Alpha and Omega.
With the least amount of tampering to make her grow quickly and things like that.
Yeah. She's probably older than Boba, though.
Yes.
Inhibitor should still run on a half. Way to bring it back.
There we go.
There we go.
Tying it back.
Before I forget, I
glad-
also want to
yeah.
say that we've been talking about the droid human comparison, machine, man, whatever. So this is just another example of that. Like we saw in episode 4 and 5. Each had their own droid versus or, type of thing. So the end credits, the music kind of end credit, it reminded me a little of Andor with the synthiness of this end music of this episode. But I like that the dynamics were like a big part of it. You could call it dynamics. You could just call it the shape of the envelope or whatever. But let me put this back up because it's pretty simple. Like,
Oh, hey, Disney
The main
Plus, I want to
melody-
listen to the end credits. Let me just scroll over to the end of the episode. Oh, you can't, like, they minimize your window for you. You can't just, like, listen
Oh,
to the end
right.
credits. It's so annoying. Ugh.
Oh yeah, totally. And then you can't go back. Yeah.
yeah, it's very annoying. It's like there's like defined hairpins.
Yeah.
And then there's like a drone. Anyway, I liked it too.
Yeah, just kind of descending minor scale kind of vibes. Yeah.
I don't know if it goes
Is
all
that
the way
not
to minor,
inaccurate?
but I mean, yeah. Oh, there's like a sustainer here. Yeah, I mean it's like a trichord. I guess it's like a.
Three blind mice, right?
Yeah.
We had a little lamb.
But then the tonic is the
I would assign it like
I felt
that.
like it went all the way back down to the A. So like past the, didn't it kind of continue all the way down? Like basically it did a full, I feel like it did a full minor scale
Oh.
by the end of the song.
Mm.
I don't know though.
Yeah, you might be
I
right.
don't know.
I just don't remember. I just know that A was. It's kind of around the A minor. But you would think it might be leading to D minor. But I don't know if it got there.
Yeah, it's like even though it's a three blind mice, its placement in the scale, it's not like mi re do 3 2 1
No.
like something leading to the thing that we want to get to. It was like something leading to the thing that's dissonant with the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, it was more like sol la mi. Sol la mi, sol la mi. I don't know. But I don't think it ever
Sol la
reached a
mi,
do.
what?
Sorry. Mi. Fa.
La
Sol,
so
fa,
mi.
mi. Sorry. Do, re, mi, fa. Sol, fa, mi. Me.
Okay.
Yeah. Do, re, me, fa, sol. Si, sol, sol, fa, me. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Anything else about episode 3? Or I could read a little bit about the sound design.
Read
I've got something for
it.
episode 3,
Please.
Nice.
but also read the sound design. But yeah, I've got a guesser for you.
Ooh. Okay.
Ooh.
Cool. Ooh.
Xtina.
Okay,
Go.
Xtina.
it's a
Okay.
joke guesser a little
Okay.
bit because it's totally not I mean, it is aural, it is audio, but it is not music at all.
Okay.
And it's also totally a joke because I absolutely love the creatures that make, or the beings that make this sound, and I was really pleased that they came back and that we got to see a lot of them in this episode.
Okay.
And so, because they're all throughout the episode, the reason it's a guesser is, can you guess precisely the thing that I'm about to do? They only do it once, but can you guess where that happened? Despite all the times that these creatures are in the episode, and that is Roger, 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 Roger.
I like how. Okay. This is like.
Oh,
I
how
think this is
lovely.
the first. This is the first time on a Band Batch stream that the guessing example was dictated live through someone's voice on screen. So that's a first for us. We've never sung or spoken anything
And a
for us
quote.
before.
And a quote.
And a quote.
Nonetheless. Like
That's
It's
great.
a
I
spoken
definitely
dialogue.
struggle because I don't do so many instruments. I'm more vocal, so I'm always like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do? Like
We
try
need
to
that.
sing that orchestral
Uh-huh.
chord.
No, it's perfect. I
Thank
think
you. I
know
did
what you're
work
talking
on-
about.
Get that polyphonic singing going. Come on.
I
Yeah,
think it's
I do work on it.
Oh, okay.
Was it
Roger,
at
Roger.
like 1435?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't even remember hearing it, but I love the droids so much. I love Roger, Roger. Was it?
It's the only time this happens throughout the whole episode.
I actually double checked to make sure there were no other Roger Rogers.
Wow.
Okay.
I'll give
I
you
think I have
a hint,
ballpark.
which is that no droids died during this scene.
I think I have I can
really
narrow it down to 2
specific.
minutes.
There's
I think.
Okay,
I think it's between 11 and 13.
that's really close.
Or sorry, between 11
It's actually
and
a little bit
13:45.
before.
Oh,
It's
okay.
actually a little bit before 11.
Okay. Oh, wait.
Yeah, he's on the
Now
phone.
I'm wondering if
right?
it's
He's
at
on the
10.
10:48.
tactical droid?
10:47.
Yeah.
He's talking to the tactical droid.
10:38, but it's not the tactical droid.
it's
Oh
not,
yes, you're
yeah.
right. Yes, it's the
Oh, it
tactical
is.
droid. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, they're reporting that the shuttle had no survivors.
Oh, I was just gonna get. But then they all get shot. Right? Don't all the droids immediately after saying that, then they all get shot?
Shh, no one died, Justin.
No, I think they
No,
specifically didn't die.
they go to the
We
shuttle, and
found
then
the
they're like,
shuttle. There are no
we found the shuttle,
survivors.
no survivors, and they're like, report back to base, and they're like, okay,
Get
and then
back. Oh yeah, no,
immediately
then they all die.
Crosshair and Cody pop out and just like annihilate all of them. I was gonna guess that scene, and then you threw me off with none of the droids.
They did. I've just confirmed. I
That's
just
like
watched it.
that's funny.
They
all
die,
just-
they
they
die
are
immediately after.
Christina, hate to break it to you.
Immediately after, they all are annihilated.
Harmed in the sense that Crosshair killed them very quickly.
Okay, so what you meant
They
is
didn't
that
have
they
time
died a very
to go,
swift death.
No droids were harmed. They were just annihilated
No
without
droids
pain.
died
Completely
painfully.
destroyed.
That's real funny.
So there you go.
That's a good guess,
Oh, my goodness.
Christina. That's the kind of trivia.
That's
we
the
want
kind
on
of thing
these
I would
streams.
do.
That's good. That's great. Keep those up. That's
I'm
sound
glad I'm
design.
not
That's
Yay.
sound. That's right there.
I was like,
Anybody?
really wanted to do one.
Oh, I
but
love
I was
those
so
droids.
tired in the
Anybody
Jeep.
else like? Anybody else? Anytime someone on these shows mention droidicas?
I love
the destroyer
droidicas.
droids?
I hear it in the Nemoidian voice.
Yeah. Do you ever? Does anybody
Where
else hear?
are those
"They're
droidicas?"
No match for droid. They're no match for droidicas. You know, it's like, oh, I love droidicas.
Oh my gosh.
But then they're like called destroyer droids, and then I hear Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
Master, destroy us, as he like flips over, you know.
Yeah.
Young
And also the
Ewan.
word Papa. Throw a
Owen.
Papa.
I actually have a related example.
Oh.
Nope. Okay, imagine like a drone. It's more like.
Is there like this like techno beat kind of thing happening underneath it?
Yeah, they're like going up the
Kind of.
stairs and shooting them, right?
Kind of. Yeah.
They're like they're walking up a spiral staircase and they're shooting the droids.
Is that what's happening?
It's
Or
like
this,
it's
like,
like 17
crosshair
minutes
thing,
in,
right?
right?
Yeah.
okay.
Crosshair and Cody work on droids.
Work on droids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is probably what that was.
Yeah.
It's like 708, right? 1708.
Yeah.
17, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good one.
Yes.
And props to Crosshair throwing tiny little mirrors up in the air and making the perfect 3-point shot.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Where are those droidicas?
Sorry.
Cleaning house.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a grim euphemism. Okay, yeah, the sound design thing. So Tommy Ames is wearing a mask that is a distant cousin to Leia's Boosh disguise,
Yeah, very
as I'm sure
and,
we
and
probably recognized.
yeah, and also audibly too, right? Like
Yeah. Oh, you're ahead of me. Good
Frequency
catch.
modulation.
Because of this, among other things, I lightly used the same process, ring modulation.
Yep.
And let's see.
It's
Lots of
just
screenshots are
the
happening.
carbonation.
Ring.
what is it?
Yeah.
It's just the sickness from the
Carbonation sickness. Yeah.
You did the rest.
Ring modulation is essentially amplitude distortion.
This might be the
That
worst rescue plan we've
Oh
ever
my
come
God.
up with.
Which is a classic Ben Burt Star Wars sound. Think the radios in the episode 4 Trench Run. Like a tremolo with the frequency and depth turned way up, the voice starts to modulate and you hear the low frequency oscillator. Yeah.
Yep. Which, once again, makes my question, where are the speakers on these helmets? How do we hear them through this modulation voice? Where did Christina go?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
But there's Christina.
Well,
But
that's
like,
like a magic
are there like
trick.
little? Yeah, right. Are there like little speakers on these helmets that like you can't hear their normal voice, but there's got to be a microphone in there, right? And then to hear the ring modulated voice, you need to have some kind of amplification on those helmets.
Well, see, of all the of on some helmets, I'm like, I don't see how this would work. But on Boosh slash this helmet is one where I can actually see. It actually makes sense to me.
Maybe the
Because like that
mouth
speaker, yeah, the
area
grills up
is
there
the
look like this.
speaker. Yeah.
Yeah, and that would be
Yeah.
close to the mouth. So like this to me is a helmet design with a voice modulator that makes sense to me. Yeah. Any other episodes? 3 thoughts.
I had written down the ring modulation there too. Droids, love them, love their personalities.
Oh yeah, they're great. So maybe what about thoughts about episode 6? What do we think?
Is there a title?
Predictions?
Happen.
I have no idea.
I
Zero
don't
idea.
know. The next adventure of the week for a second.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
Are we good?
This
Is
is-
this
is
one
this-
going to be a 2
We all
episode
know.
drop?
This is the part of the
Or is
show
this-
where
is-
James just makes some wild predictions.
Is this a 2 episode drop or is this another
It's fun.
1 episode? Do we know?
That's a good question.
Where's that release schedule?
It's just 1 episode.
There's a 1 episode drop.
I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, it's not until the next Wednesday afterwards
Yeah.
that they're releasing 2. So
'Cause our
7
next
and 8
stream
will
is
come
on-
out together.
Because our next stream is on the 11th in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So what do you think's gonna?
Yeah,
what do
so
you
we'll
think?
get 6, 7, and 8.
Well, you know what?
Well-
Well, since we're gonna the next time we talk is after the next 3 episodes, so maybe prediction for the next 3 episodes. Is that what you heard? Is that what you already said?
I think Sid's trustworthiness will come into play. Seems
questioned
pretty
more?
safe.
I think we might see some type of decision making with her. I think.
Something with Wanda Sykes.
Omega
I
will
would
get
like-
kidnapped.
I mean, they're not really making. Crosshair seems to just not. He's not interested in engaging with the batch anymore, right? I mean, he's kind of moved on from trying to find them from now on, right?
I truly
Everyone
don't
thinks they're
know
dead, though,
that
right?
much about.
I think everyone thinks they're dead except for Rampart. Rampart knows they're alive, but everyone else thinks they're dead, right? That's why they
And
killed
Rampart-
Loco in the
That
very-
too?
then that episode. Huh?
Crosshair knows that they're not dead, right? Because they saved him, right?
So in a way, Crosshair, you're saying Crosshair might be keeping them safe. Might be the one.
Yeah, I guess I'm
He
saying
might have
like
been told that
his
they
whole
could-
thing first
they
season
were
1 was like trying to
eliminated.
find them again, but because of what happened in the finale of season 1, he's just moved on from
Oh, good point.
engaging with them, right? That was like how season 1 ended, right? They were just like, we're gonna part ways, and that's it, right? So he's not out to cross paths with them again, and I'm wondering. I think he will cross paths with them in this season, and I'm curious how, in which way, because it's definitely maybe not going to be coming from a place of him searching for them.
I think Rampart
maybe.
is going to order him to search for them
To go
because
search for them again, yeah.
because they're going to become on someone's radar, and then Rampart is about to be discovered to be a liar this whole time, and they're going to be like,
Where they're
Rampart,
gonna hear
you
about
very
this like
clearly said."
racer that was having his name
Do you
shot.
think that's
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. He had a whole stadium
could totally
chanting his
happen.
name, right?
the tech
Yeah.
stadium?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, the next episode is called Tribe, so maybe something. I'm hoping that means something about the clones' relationship with one another will be discussed. Sid skeletons will
Or-
fall. Oh, I like the way Sid skeletons will fall out of the closet, and she'll have to choose between her old life and the batch.
Is it like
Like,
them,
do
the
we,
tribe? Are we
do
going
we
to
care about Sid?
find a tribe? I
We
mean,
do.
I'm curious.
Okay.
I'm curious. Character development, I suppose.
Episode 7 is called Clone Conspiracy, and then followed up by Truth and Consequence. Those sound like hearty episode names, I have to say.
Yeah.
I have some, yeah. Those could be episodes with consequence.
They could. I think there might be some truth in to that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's just a conspiracy right now. We don't really know.
Okay, you're just cloning my joke at this point.
don't-
No.
You don't want to be caught in the
That's
crosshairs of truth and consequences.
I got you in the crosshairs, James.
Okay. Well, I think
Okay,
we
enough of
have
that.
discussed.
Roger, Roger.
Roger.
Well, those are the main points that I had to say for this set of minutes. Sorry, these episodes. Getting my wires crossed. Maybe we'll hear some things from this set of minutes. Crap. These episodes that recur in the next few episodes, and then that will probably prompt us to cover those with more detail. I think the Empire will come to the planet Sid's bar is located. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to happen sometime, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and Sid has probably, she'll have to, kind of like Savvy or Oga in Black Spire in Disneyland. So the next time that we'll be streaming is in 2 weeks. That'll be February 11th. We'll be talking about episodes 6 through 8. Hope you can make it and have some music and sound things that you have to bring up or remember. There will be more quizzing. And
Always the quiz.
yeah, I think we're ready to wrap up for today. It's been a little bit of a marathon.
It's been fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, we've stretched 5 minutes of a show into this long.
I know.
We did good. We crammed 3 episodes into our.
That's true. That is actually.
We did real good.
I'm actually
I think.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. All right, so we'll see you in a couple weeks then. Let's
good.
roll the music.
It's time to start the music. Bum, 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 bum.